And we are live. Hello, Facebook. My name is Chris Albrecht. This is my friend Matt Monroe, host of Big Blocks Garage. And we're here live on Direct Connections. This is Talking Mopars, Direct Connections Live, number 2. We did the first one. We're still waiting on a couple guys. Johnny Mopar's late. I'm massively late. This was supposed to happen at 7:30, but that's not the way it worked out. And we'll tell you a little bit why, but a lot of that's going to be explained on part 2 of buying a used scat pack for the Talking Mopars podcast. I don't know if you caught the first episode, but if you haven't, I just talk about, looking at used scat packs and how not to get screwed. But that's what we're talking about on the next episode of Talking Mopars. But today we're doing a Direct Connections Live, and these will also be released as podcast episodes. And we have another guest coming onto the stream, Blake from DIY Hemi. Blake, how's it going, buddy? There we go. It's a little better. Blake, we're live. So we're still waiting on Johnny Mopar, but we're going to go ahead and kick off the intro. So my name is Chris Albrecht. That's Matt Monroe. That's Blake Anderman. Johnny Mopar is nowhere to be found right now. And this is Direct Connections Live. All right, gentlemen. What's going on, guys?
How's it going?
Eventful day. Oh, there's Johnny Mopar. Perfect timing. Johnny, let's bring him in. We'll do another intro for everybody.
How's it going?
Johnny Mopar.
What's up, fellas?
All right. Guys, this is Johnny Mopar. He's later than I am now. I'm kidding. Let's go around the room. Matt, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell people where they can find you. We'll get this out of the way now.
Hey guys, I'm Matt Monroe. I host the YouTube channel Big Blocks Garage, and I have a podcast, a couple buddies of mine under Mad Fro Monroe on Big Blocks Garage. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and hate to admit it, we're even on TikTok.
Me too. Oops. All right, Brayden. Brayden, what's up, dude? He's in the chat. Johnny, go ahead.
I'm Johnny
Who are you?
Mopar.
Where are you from? What are you doing?
I'm Johnny Mopar. I have a YouTube channel called Johnny Mopar. Wrench on all my own Mopars and hopefully have some tips for you guys. If you guys are wrenching on your own cars, it's worth watching me and just seeing what I'm doing, and maybe you'll learn something. I guess that's it.
Johnny Mopar, Matt Monroe, and last but most certainly not least, Blake. You're up, buddy.
Hey, Blake Anderman, DIY Hemi. I like Mopars and I like Hemis.
Is this
about it?
Is this some? This is Mopars Anonymous now. Right on.
Mopars, I like.
That's actually.
So I'm going to go ahead and stand up first.
Chris,
My name is
you're
Blake
so
Anderman.
late.
I'm addicted to Mopar.
Yeah, Blake's probably already drunk. You've waited so long for you guys. I mean, my beer is half empty already. So
I'm late for this meeting because of my Mopar addiction, and let me just tell this story really quick. All of them. So, if you guys listen to the podcast regularly, Mark, hello, Bubba, hello. If you guys listen to the podcast regularly, my last episode was talking about buying a used scat pack, and so far I'm 0 for 2. And today I had so I have the money, go down to the dealership, but I've been working this deal for like 2 or 3 days on text message, and everything seems like it's going good. And I finally see some numbers where I'm like, okay, and the wife said yes. So when the wife says yes, it's cool. You just pack up the kids, get them, let's go, let's get this car. Go down there, and it's a little weird because, first of all, I want to drive the car. And they're like, oh, hold on. So I'm already suspicious, but the car looks clean. It's got 19,000 miles. It's a 2019 Dodge Charger Scat Pack. It's black, looks really good. It's the Brass Monkey edition, whatever the hell that is. And it was everything I wanted. I was like, okay, this is cool. We can work with this. But they weren't letting me drive it. They weren't letting me take it for a test drive. And then they started, I had already worked the deal, so why aren't they putting the numbers in front of my face? And saying, are these cool? Let's get this show on the road, because I don't want to be there all night. And I knew my bank was closing to actually, finalize everything. So to make a long story short, and I'll go into a little bit more depth on the podcast, but I keep in mind, I already had finance. I already had the money. I basically had a check. Okay. So what they did was they took a bunch of my information and my wife's information, and they ran another credit check on both of us, because this is a trick that dealers will do. And I'll end it at this. They will, even if you are pre-qualified or pre-approved, they will still run your credit if they are shady. Because what they can do is they can say, okay, say you had, my interest rate was 4.74. Okay. They're going to go find one that you qualify for maybe 2%. And they're going to go, look, you got 4.74 here, but we found you one for 4%. And you're going to be like, oh, that's savings. But what they're doing is they're putting that extra 2% in their pocket, because we were negotiating, and they're so sneaky because they like to move money around. I said, hey, just take X amount off the price. You got a deal. I'll come buy the car. So then they send me another little sheet, and they said, oh, so we took a 150 from there, took 300 from this number here, and we moved that around. And I'm like, what is the number you are discounting the car? That's all I need to know. And it was shady from the get-go. I should have seen the writing on the wall, but I wanted the car. Stupid me. But so that's it. I ended up, we're sitting there waiting for the paperwork and stuff. And all of a sudden, my wife and I are sitting there. Our daughter's getting restless. I haven't eaten in 13 hours. And because I'm so excited about this damn car. And all of a sudden, my wife starts getting alerts on her phone, and she gets a phone call from a credit union at, what time was it? 6 o'clock at night. And she's like, what's this? And the salesman was right there. It was a lady salesman. She hasn't been selling cars for very long, so she was a little inexperienced. So I think the sales manager was kind of working her like, this is how the business is. This is how we can discount a car, but still make that money back up here, you know? Mm-hmm. So my wife gets this, and if you guys knew my wife, she puts up with zero bullshit. I don't know how I've made it this long. But man, she was, as soon as she said that, and I was like, you guys ran our credit again after I told you we were already pre-approved. I was seeing red, because at this point it was going to be well past my daughter's bedtime. We've been sitting in this. I tried to make it so that we could just go in and get out. Give me the car and get out. And I did end up driving it. I took it for a spin real quick. Okay, cool. And I was thinking to myself, why don't you guys let me drive the car? They wanted to run my credit and see, they wanted to pause and stall. They were stalling because it was in the showroom. The car was in the showroom. They're like, oh yeah, we got to get the car out of the showroom. We don't just let anybody, jump in these high performance cars. I was like, hey, the last dealership I went to, they tossed me the keys and said, hey, go drive it. So I got up, said my piece as respectfully as I could. And my wife had a nice mic drop, but we'll get into that in the actual podcast. But anyways, that was my night. That's why I'm late. I apologize to everybody who's like, where the hell is this guy? He said 7:30. He's a liar. We're here now. And first of all, guys, I apologize. That should have never happened. I tried to make it as easy as possible because I wanted the car and it just didn't work out. And now I have egg all over my face. So that's it. That's what's on my mind right now. I'm trying to cool down, but like I was telling Matt earlier, I was like, man, I haven't eaten in like 13 or 14 hours, and I wanted to drink. I really wanted to drink, but I'm scared of what would happen on an empty stomach. So you guys, I was the only one drinking last time, so you guys have some fun this time. I'm going to watch this chat. What is on all your mind? What do you got going on? What's happening, fellas?
Who's going first?
I'm trying to crunch to make Mo Party in time. As you can see, Blake, who challenged me to some races, is sitting there with a finished car, and mine has a giant hole in the side.
It's not finished. They're never finished.
Man, that's more finished than that thing back there.
You can do it, man. I'm rooting for you.
Oh, I was trimming fours out today. The driver's side's already trimmed out, so we're about to start doing all the body work in like the next 3 weeks, probably.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
Now, I know you told me what you're going to paint the car, but can you let all your fans know what color you're going to paint the car?
Oh, man. So it's a little bit of a copy because I'm a huge fan of the crop duster just because it gave me inspiration to be able to finish this car. So we're going to go back factory tour red on this car. Somebody painted it orange in its life somewhere. We're going back factory tour red, and then we're going to do the flat black high performance package style paint job on the hood and along the drip rails and everything else.
Nice.
And then I'm running some Foose wheels on it. And then all black interior. I mean, I just really like a good red and black car. That's just how I am.
Yeah, they're nice.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And you have to do some. What kind of high performance things are you going to add to the car to beat that AAR CUDA that's sitting behind Blake at Mo Party?
A very heavy foot, because that's about all I got.
Hold on. We need to explain what's happening here because nobody knows about this challenge that's going on. So,
Oh, that
who
is
wants
true.
to step
True.
up, somebody, and tell them
Yes,
about this
step back.
challenge. see, folks, we have a private chat. Me and these guys, we chat all the time, and they talk me off ledges and all sorts of fun stuff. But we're trying to make it to Mo Party, and if you guys don't know what Mo Party is, they just had their first annual one last year, September, and it was a huge success in the midst of the pandemic and all that. It was a huge success, and so now 3 of us are gonna try to make it out there. I know 2 of us for sure are, and that's Matt and Blake. Johnny and I may be MIA. I'm gonna try to get out there. Which it's looking promising now that I didn't spend a bunch of money on a car.
There you go.
Johnny, maybe I'll pay for your flight out there.
Hey, now you're talking.
Hey, don't tempt me, dude. I might. Go ahead, Matt or Blake. Tell them what the challenge is.
So Chris Maddox, who just commented down there at the bottom, he's here with me, and he's one of my co-hosts on Mad Fro Monroe. We're hoping to hop in the Duster and road trip to Bowling Green, Kentucky. And Blake wants to throw down on some drag racing and some road rallies, and hopefully it comes out pretty good.
That's it.
The challenge.
It's
challenge. Gonna be fun. Blake, where do you stand? Talk some shit to Matt right now. Oh, I'm just joking.
I feel like that's gonna like do me in, you know. Like I'll talk some mad shit, and then I'll have egg all over my face, and I'm gonna go to like the starting line, and they're gonna drop the flag, and the thing's gonna fall on its face, and everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, it's so cute! Bring it back home."
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I love a good friendly challenge. It's gonna be fun. A body versus E body. It's gonna be a good time. I can't wait for that. So for everybody watching, if you guys have a microphone, headphones, you're more than welcome to come join us on the chat. You know, we'll boot your ass if you're not. You know, if you're get out of line, we're gonna boot you. But we're bringing on Brayden from 66 Salvage Restoration and Speed Shop.
What's up, Brayden?
Brayden, introduce yourself, buddy. Tell everybody who you are, what you do.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, buddy?
What's up, man?
I'm the ugly guy, and I work on cars for a living. No, my name is Brayden. I am the founder and owner of 66 Salvage Restoration Speed Shop.
And
so
where's
make
that at?
speed dreams come alive and happen. That's my whole mission.
Where's your shop
In
at?
Clinton, Illinois.
Okay. Right on. How far is that away
Clinton,
from Chicago?
Illinois. I'm actually up here at the shop right now, actually.
How far are you from Chicago?
It's only about an hour and 45 minutes.
Okay. Cool, man. What are you working on these days? What do you got in the shop right now?
I had a customer's vehicle moved out, and all I've got in the shop right now is the truck, which is known as the Beast, that I talked about with everybody last time, except I wasn't on the live video. So.
Okay. Yeah. You were in the chat. You joined us in the chat.
So the Stroker Mud Bog. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
So it's a mud bog. That's what we were talking about last time.
How are you guys doing?
I'm good.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. The 318.
Okay. Hey, Brayden,
So
are you
don't
hooked
mind
up?
me just having a brew.
No worries, buddy. Hey, are you hooked up through Wi-Fi or a direct line?
You guys having a problem hearing me?
You're breaking up.
Is that what's
Your
going on?
connection's a little. You're breaking up. Your connection is a little
Hold
glitchy.
on. Let me. All right. Hold on just a minute.
All right, no problem. We're going to continue. Johnny Mopar, what do you got going on, dude?
Man, all kinds of stuff. But today I worked on our 383 that's going into the club car, which is our very ugly 66 Belvedere 4-door that has a poly 318 right now. I just put a flex plate on the 383, so I'm pretty pretty anxious to get that thing bolted together and get it on the run stand and fire it up, break in the cam, get it ready to go. Of course, I still have to work on my Duster. The brakes are still a little kind of, I don't know, not all there. I'm hoping that something's just come loose in the back brakes, but I just haven't had time to pull it apart and have a look at it. And I want to get that car up to speed so I can start taking that to the track. And if you guys saw the videos, I did take our club car, Dorothy, to Verona and ran it down the track. So that was pretty fun, even though it was super, super slow. But it was a good time. So if anybody's out there thinking about running at the track, you should do it. It's a good experience, even if you're not very fast. So let's see what else. I got to get back on my mom's car. Just real quick, my mom had a little health issue a couple of weeks ago, and it's kind of freaky, scary, and she's still not 100%, but I really got to get back on her 72 Charger and get that thing back together so she can drive it, you know. So the pressure is on.
I'm sorry to hear about your mom, man. Hope she's doing okay.
Thank you. Yeah, she's doing better. She's doing better. It was kind of a scare. We thought at first I thought maybe she got COVID. Turns out my sister got it, and she hangs out with my mom a lot. And then and then I thought, because I had gone over to get some toolboxes from my dad he had given me, and my son was up by my mom, so I thought, man, here we go. You know, is it going to spread through the house? But turns out she tested negative, but my dad rushed her to the ER. She had trouble breathing and stuff, and she ended up having blood clots in her lungs.
Oh, no.
So she's on a breathing machine. She's staying at my sister's right now. So hopefully she'll get back to 100% and hopefully get her car done as fast as possible so she can, go for a run in it.
Yeah. God.
So,
yeah, you know,
absolutely.
That COVID thing, man. I know so many people that are like, I don't know anybody there's people that have COVID is real, folks. If you think it's fake, it's not fake. It may be overblown. You know, there may be some stuff there, but it's real, you know. But that's all. We'll just leave it at that. But yeah, Johnny, I hope your mom gets better, buddy. You know,
thank you.
It's unfortunate.
Thank you. Yeah, on the COVID thing, at first I was kind of wavering too. It's like I'm not going to really take one position or the other, you know, just kind of paying attention and seeing what's going on. But I can tell you at work, man, we've had it spread through work like crazy. And there's at least one person that I know of that was a really cool person, and she doesn't work there anymore, but she passed away. Unfortunately, she had diabetes and she caught it and she passed.
Oh no.
So yeah, it's pretty bad. It's out there.
It's underlying health issues, man. Like I started. My wife is on a detox and cleanse, and this isn't a health podcast, but being supportive, I was like, yeah, I'll help you. I'll join in with you. You know, we'll do this together. And it's been tough, but everything I've read says that could help boost your immune system. And I take vitamins every day. And I'm a garbage man, and I'm kind of a germaphobe too. Could imagine being in a garbage truck and a germaphobe? It's not good. Yeah. I remember one day I stepped in dog shit. I stepped in dog shit, right? I'm a garbage truck driver. It shouldn't bother me, dude. I was livid. And the area I service at work has a lot of money. You're talking $1 million homes. You know, I live in the Northwest where, you know, everybody's Google, Amazon.
Yeah.
I snuck up to one of these nice houses and I used their faucet to wash the shit off the bottom of my boot. I didn't feel bad about it at all. Hey, Dan Streeter, my buddy. He says they're trying to shop your loan. Yeah, I figured that out pretty quick. I thought I could trust him. You know, I told him. I didn't try to hide the fact that I was pre-approved, dude. I said, I got the money. Let's figure out the price. And if I'm being honest, I offer them $7,000 less than they were asking. And they're like, well, we can't move that much on it. And I was like, well, I know that. This is where you counter. They must not understand a cheap-ass Mopar guy, but they found one. And I had the money. I was just trying to, you know, the more I could save, the more I could pocket, you know, for fun stuff. And so I had a plan, and we actually had a number where because I had some cash set aside to put down, and because I knew it would probably come to that. But they stopped, dude. I'll tell you that. But yeah, they really, as far as Dan says, they will try to get you to focus on the payment number because they can work some other numbers to manipulate the payment. That's actually 100% correct. The way they do the Foursquare and stuff, I explained that on the last podcast. But this way, I was pre-approved for a certain amount. I ran all the numbers. There's a really cool, I wish I remembered it off the top of my head, but there's this car loan calculator tool online. It's free. You go in there, you put in your sales price, you put in the price of your trade, your negative equity, and you put in your sales tax and all that stuff, and it will tell you how much you're paying throughout the life of the loan. It'll tell you what the principal is, and with the pre-approval, they'll say, oh, we're only going to give you X amount over the amount that we think the car's worth. So they gave me that amount. I calculated out the 15 extra percent, so I had a little bit of room to work. And I was ready to go, dude. I was ready to buy that car. Oh my God, they were close, but hey, there's more scat packs out there. We're not talking about an AAR Cuda or something. You know what I mean? We're not talking about a Duster with its quarter panel ripped off. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's precision cutting.
Man, I need to start cutting on my shit, dude. Like, that's what I need to do. But what else is on your guys' mind?
Well, I'll tell you what. A friend of mine, Chris Field, who owns Motec over here locally to me, he's got a Scat Pack, a 2020 Charger Scat Pack wide body, and we're at my other friend's Dennis's house. We were working on the Belvedere, and he shows up in this freaking beautiful blue Scat Pack and hands me the keys and says, go try it out. And I'm like, man, I don't know. Are you sure? And he goes, yeah. So another buddy jumped in the car with me, and we took it out for a drive. And of course, I'm here in California, so it's very crowded. It's not like you're going to get out on the highway and, hit some high numbers. But I could tell you, driving the car, we got onto a freeway, which kind of has like a loop. The on-ramp loops around, and then you could kind of boogie as you're coming down onto the freeway. And I romped on it, and it's like, holy shit, man, that thing is just like effortless power. I mean, we hit 100, and then I got out of it, and it's like, that's good enough for me. But, I think we were kind of all talking about the difference between old school Mopars and newer Mopars, and I could tell you it's really like a different genre. I mean, it's just, there's really not a competition where like one is better than the other. They're just way different. You can make arguments depending on what things you want or need that you can call better or not. I could tell you, like, his car is 485 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be happy if my Duster's making that kind of power. I don't think it is, but let's just say it was the same. It's probably making like 450 or so. Now, if I owned a Scat Pack, there's friends, and Chris Field is one of them. I would hand the keys to and say, go test drive that car, and feel totally comfortable doing it. I would not hand my keys to anybody for my Duster, not because I don't trust them. It's just that car is not capable of sticking to the road like that Scat Pack is. I mean, it is freaking insane. Like, you could do that 100 miles an hour in that little loop getting on the freeway. It was like the car was just planted to the road. I mean, you were in complete control. You're hugged by the seat. I mean, the car's just, it's not going anywhere, But my Duster, I think it would have been doing some loops, spinning out if I tried that same thing in that same car, It's just not the same.
Oh, you're
Duster
right, man.
is cool. It's raw. It's freaking power. It's craziness. It sounds badass. It sounds like it's gonna rip your heart out. But yeah, it's kind of like not as safe and stable as that Scat Pack is. Probably not even making as much power as that Scat Pack is. Badass car.
They the electronics in these new cars and the technology is just so crazy. But I don't like comparing old versus new, unless it's just for fun. But like the shit talking, I'll never get that. They're two different cars.
They are.
The new ones are awesome and amazing, and the old ones, I mean, nothing needs to be said about those. If you don't like the old school Mopar muscle cars, then sell your new Mopar and get the fuck out. because we don't want you. No, I'm kidding. But
well, yeah, I mean, I'm guilty. I'm that guy. I'm that old school guy. I like the old school cars, right? And we have a car show local to me at the School for the Deaf in Riverside, put on by Inland Mopars. Anyway, it's called Mopars in May, and I've been going to that show for years, and it's almost always old school Mopars. But then they kind of died out. They moved to other places. It got kind of disrupted, and then they went back to that same location. And it was like half the car show was new stuff, and the other half was old school stuff. And I didn't really have much interest in walking the new school stuff. I mean, I hate to say it, I hate to be that guy, but it was like you kind of saw the same thing over and over. It's like, there's Chargers, there's Challengers. We even had one guy. He's like, check out this car, And me and my buddy he's like, you see anything different about it? And we're looking at it, and it's like, okay, we give. What is it? And he's like, it's got, and I don't remember the years, but it's got like a 2017 front and back clip or on an older Challenger or something like that. And it's like, how am I supposed to know that? Like, how it's the same body. You're never going to be able to tell that, So I'm that guy, but I got to tell you, man, when I drove that car, it was like, holy shit, man, it's a badass car.
Yeah, they're cool. But one thing and for anybody that is into newer Mopars, that maybe you're listening to this or maybe you'll see it in the future, I'm not talking shit here, but I see a lot of what was happening because I grew up during the height of, and I was starting to drive during the height of Fast and the Furious. And what I've seen over time is everybody's like, Hondas aren't cool anymore. You know what I mean? Because at one time, maybe I thought a Honda was cool. I like all cars. Sometimes I see I knew a guy with a 4-door Accord that had close to 800 horsepower, turbocharged. It was,
wow.
It could keep up with liter bikes on the freeway. 1,000cc bikes, R1s, things like that. I mean, it was fast as hell. And he had meth injection, not the drug, but he had a cage in it, and it from the outside it appeared 100% stock. The only thing that gave it away was the tires in front. He had some balloon tires in front, so he could actually get traction. But the thing was insane. So, like, when people talk shit about imports, I get it. There's a lot of riced out cars that, any new Toyota could beat off the line, and they've got a bunch of money in their Honda and they're still going to get smoked. But I see the new Mopars taking on a lot of the same modifications as the imports, which, if you want to create your own car, like, to have its own personality or whatever, I get it. Like I said, I'm not talking shit. But for me, like, when I go to a Mopar show, if it's just a bunch of stock I shouldn't say stock. If it's a bunch of these modern Mopars and all they have is like fancy lights, everybody's got the same lip spoiler, and I'd be lying if I said that I didn't think about putting a lip spoiler on that Charger I tried to buy. I was like, it'd probably look pretty good with a front lip on it. But I would much rather go to a car show and see modern Mopars where you pop the hood. Oh, this one's got a Whipple on it. Oh, this one, this one's got 175 shots of nitrous, and it looks. I like the factory sleek. You don't really need. I mean, the cars look great. Sometimes these guys are overdoing it. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, come on, what do you got to do? Just, I would like to have one and just have some stuff done under the hood. That way it's like, okay, if anybody pulls up, they think it's a stock Scat Pack or something. You got a Whipple. You got a stroked out 6'4", 426 cubic inch Hemi with a Whipple on it. They don't even know. That would be fun, but. It's just, I like the fact that people are getting into Mopars, but there's certain things that annoy me, like, these guys talking about Scat Packs, but they can't tell you the history of where Scat Pack even comes from. It's like, hey, know the stuff, dude. I can't really call you a real Mopar enthusiast.
Oh,
yeah.
There
I have that shirt in black, and I'd wear it, but I got fat since I bought it, so I'm sure you guys don't want to see that.
Actually, my buddy Chris Field that owns that Scat Pack gave me this shirt. So if anybody wants a shirt like this, he's got some other shirts. Just give him a little quick plug. It's called Straight Line Clothing on Teespring.
Oh, really?
He gave me the link. I don't know. I can't really do it here, but yeah. So check it out if you guys want some cool T-shirts.
I'm gonna have to charge him $6.99 for that promo, Johnny.
Oh, okay.
Mike
He's in the comments, so you can tell him in there. He's got
Chris?
the little hand waving. Yeah, Chris Field.
I'll give you all my information later, buddy. You can PayPal me. I'm just kidding. Yes, Mike, you are right. D-badged Hellcat. Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that.
When you kind of look at the old engines, for example, you could pop a hood and know it's either a 426 or you could know it's a 340 or a 318 just by identifying either the carburetor that's on there or identifying the manifold. With these new cars, you kind of just lose sight of that because they're not impressive when you pop the hood. Even if there is a Whipple on there, I don't know. I guess call me old school, but it's just they miss the flair, if you know what I mean. Especially when you pop the hood on an engine, that's the most thing that identifies a Mopar is the block itself.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to. I mean, there's so much shit on top of the engines these days. It's like hard to even see the motor. But I'm sure I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that these guys that are really into these new Mopars probably can tell. I mean, Blake's probably one of those guys. But like, we went and bought we leased a new Dodge truck, a 2000, I think it's a 19. My wife drives, and they had a Demon on the showroom floor, and you're spending like Chris was doing earlier. You spend a lot of time at the dealership when they're trying to work bullshit numbers and all that stuff, and so I couldn't help but walk around the Demon, and it's like, man, there's like cool stuff on there. On the I believe it was on the supercharger. It had like a little Demon engraved into it, which looked pretty bitchin'. I mean, there's a lot of little details that I probably couldn't rattle them off right away, but I'm sure those guys that are into those cars could probably go, "Oh yeah, the Demon's got this and it's got that," and like we do when we see a Hemi or a 340 car or something like that. I don't know. Can you, Blake?
Yeah, it's a following, just like us old school guys. I try to bridge the gap as much as possible, but when you walk up to a car and there's some dead giveaway characteristics. So like you look at a Scat Pack, right next to an RT, something like that. A Scat Pack Challenger next to an RT Challenger, new school stuff, and you look at over at the Scat Pack and you see the throttle body kicked off at like a 40-degree angle. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's going to probably be a 6.4. You look down and you see the from the factory the coated Hemi performance orange engine block. So that's something kind of cool. It's a tip of the hat to old school, and that 6.4 block is painted Hemi orange. Race Hemi orange. It's kind of actually a dull Hemi orange, not like EV2, like you would think. Like the external paint job. Which is kind of funny. Side tangent. That color was really kind of based off of, the old school Hemi oranges after they were kind of broken in. So the paint faded a little bit. And it's kind of funny to see that. But there are some certain things that you can notice right away just looking at an engine. There's casting numbers, little things that you could look for, and you could say, oh man, that thing has, Apache heads and, which is 6.4 liter heads. And the little nuances, that demographic, those people, they know that like the back of their hands, just like we know old school. And it's really impressive to see, oh man, that thing has a Hellcat red eye blower on it. It has the larger blower on it. It doesn't have just a standard, displacement blower. Maybe it has the Demon blower on it. They'll call them those specific names because of, say, the volume, the size of the blower. They could point those things out, very easily compared to some stuff. We look at old school, we say, oh, that's a 440. Oh, that's a small block. We could see those things. They can do that too. It's just that's what they pine over, just like the old school guys. So it's you still have that passion there. You still have that same in-depth knowledge, but as Chris was saying, you would hope that you do a little homework, a little history. Where did the Scat Pack originate from? Where do we get some of these cool things? What was the original Dodge Demon? It was a little A-body terror, man. It used to rip up the streets. They called it the Giant Killer. So
I think it's kind of cool that they do that little throw. They throw a line to the old school, the history. They've screwed it up, here and there. Like I drive a Dart for my daily driver but it ain't nothing like an old school dart, unfortunately. But I was just gonna point out what Mike over here said too. You know, he's got a buddy that can drive 300 miles, click off 970s, and drive home with the AC on. It's like, yeah, it's kind of. I
Yeah,
can't
good
say.
stuff.
I can never. I don't. It'll be a long time before I could ever say something like that with one of my old schools. But you know, I still love my old schools.
Don't miss my point. I love the new Mopars. I think
yeah.
they're great.
Yeah.
I think they're amazing cars. I just feel like for certain people, it is the in trend, just like Hondas and imports, and they're following that the exact same trend. Go look at a magazine. Go look at an import magazine from 2001. You're seeing the same thing on Mopars now. You're seeing the cheesy graphics on the side of these. I'm like I go on YouTube and I look up some things for scat packs and stuff, trying to get more familiar with the car because I really don't know that much about them. I'm no expert, so I'm trying to learn about these guys. I'm going to spend a shitload of money. I want to know about the car, and I go on there and I see the riciest shit. So hey, if you're listening to the show and the first thing you do to your modern Mopar is put a stupid graphic on the side, hey, sell it. Sell it right now, okay?
The wraps, man. And Chris, in our area, it's the wraps. You know, we'll go into town. So if I'll drive down, I'm, maybe 45-minute drive from New Orleans. And we'll go into the city, especially on Interstate 10. You know, anywhere from where my house is to New Orleans on Interstate 10, on any given trip, I will get blown by quite a few Mopars. I love it. You know, I'm like, oh, they're going street racing, and I know exactly where you're going. You're going to Alamonster Avenue. You're going to the pad. You're going to drop some cash. I know what you're doing. You know, and they just plow by, vroom, vroom. I mean, flying, probably doing 100 plus on the interstate. And the wraps, they're all wrapped. You know, camouflage. They're wrapped in. Street graphics. They're wrapped to make it look like fake rust. One guy had it wrapped to look like he ran over somebody. It had fake blood down the side. It's nuts.
So check this out. It's kind of funny because on the old school Mopars, I mean, unless you lived in the 70s, you probably don't know this, but that same shit was happening in the 70s. And every now and then you'll see like a survivor car that's like sitting in a field somewhere, and it's got like these crazy strobes down the side, and you're like, what the hell were you smoking when you put that shit on the car? But and everybody gets those cars and they restore them. They always try to go back to stock or original paint jobs, factory colors, factory stripes on them and stuff. So if you were like born in, or I shouldn't say born, but if you were living in the 2000s, say you're in your 20s, 2000s and later, you never saw that stuff. So you kind of have this perception like, oh, all those old school guys always kept their shit like clean and factory original. But no, that shit happened, man. That shit happened back in the day too, especially in the 70s when they jacked the ass up and
different levels.
That was the acid flavor of the day.
Yeah, exactly, right.
I had a guy used to pick on me. He used to say, man, you know why we used to do that back in the 70s? And I said, man, I don't know what. Like, it's one of those guys you just like, what the hell's about to come out of your mouth? Right. He's like, well, everybody knows you run faster downhill. Like, that literally makes no sense whatsoever.
That's hilarious.
True. Man, it's not a Mopar, but probably about 10 years ago, I was going down the freeway and I saw a guy in a Cougar go by, and he had that. It was totally restored.
Wait, like, it was a guy in a Cougar or a guy with a Cougar?
A guy in a Cougar.
A guy riding a Cougar. But
yeah, I mean, he had that thing like jacked up, skied, ass was stuck up high in the air, and I was like, holy crap. Actually looked kind of cool, man. It was like a street freak looking car. It just looked way different,
Yeah.
But I would never do it, but it was cool to see somebody else do it.
Oh. Yeah. I will say this, as far as the wraps go, I do like vinyl wraps. As long as they're not too, you can really hit or miss with a vinyl wrap, in my opinion. I've seen some really nice wraps. I think, Blake, you and I were talking about like a chrome wrap or like a brushed aluminum wrap. That's cool stuff. There's some wraps where I'm like, hey, you could have just bought a giant stupid sticker and put it on the side of your car, and you probably went to spend $3,000.
What about
money.
a cougar down the side? And then its back legs could be by where the wheel is. So it looks like it's running.
Yeah. Like the old cartoons from back in the day.
Yeah, like the Scat Pack bee.
So the guy I sold my last Barracuda to, 70 grand coupe, he talks to me all the time. He comes by. I actually have one of his cars here at the shop now. And he's like, paint job now, it's astronomical. I think a pint of paint is maybe in excess of $100 now in our area. He told me, he said, look, I think I'm going to wrap the car. I'm going to wrap it in a color, just hit it down with some primer, wrap it, and do the full job, because it was like comparatively, say like $2,200 versus $10,000, to do a wrap job versus an all paint job. And he said, right now, just to get it on the road and enjoy it, I think that's the way I'm going to go. They can be made to look really nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I would imagine too, you're saving like the life of the paint job. I mean, imagine if old school cars, the stories you would hear, it's like, oh, I found this car in a barn and it was wrapped and I peeled the wrap off and the paint job was like brand new,
Mm-hmm.
How cool would that be?
But the quarters were still rotting off of it.
Yeah. The wrap was holding it together.
Yeah.
Wait, what's rust?
Oh man.
You can get a wrap that
That's
has
weight
rust.
reduction to go faster, right?
Yeah.
What, Brayden, what's your opinion on this new stuff? What do you think about it?
Like what? The motors?
The cars in
wraps,
general.
things like that.
Yeah.
There are some things I'm kind of lost at. I think it's just because being older, there's days where you have guys come to me and, oh, well, I'm a tuner. Well, I just plug this into the car and it tells me, what's wrong with the diagnostic. Well, if you can't open a hood, start a motor up, for like example, most people know that most Hollies, for example, they have a sucking sound. Edelbrocks have a tick suck sound. Well, if for example, these new kids, all they do is they plug this into the car and that's that. So I think, there's some things that are being lost with newer vehicles.
Sure.
But at the same time, I think there's things that like newer kids can gain. But I think, you have to learn the basics, and that's dealing with a naturally aspirated engine before you deal with all these fuel injected power monsters, in my opinion. I don't know. I guess if somebody wants to call me an asshole, then so be it. But I kind of feel like it's a dying art with these new vehicles.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, the uniqueness of these cars as well. Like, I remember my buddy Eric. He's got a '69 Roadrunner, 383 in it. He had a 440 in it. I don't remember which he had in at the time. I think it was a 383. But his stepdad had one of those, and I want to say this was in the '90s. Cadillac SVS or something like that. Like one of the really fast Cadillac, the one that's got all the sharp angles on it. And
V, right? Like a
STS or CTS?
Cadillac CTS.
Well, maybe that's it. But he talked shit on my buddy Eric, who drove the original, Tour Red, primer spots all over the car, old '69 Roadrunner, that, he could beat his ass. So, of course, my buddy's like, bring it. And they race, and the Roadrunner whooped that car's ass. So the cars from the '60s, they dominated long past their time. You figure like a car comes out in about 5 to 10 years, it's sort of like a dominant force for the time. Like, let's say Scat Packs or Hellcats or Demons or whatever are right now. But back then it was like all of the emission bullshit that happened in the early mid 70s, early to mid 70s, it sort of just killed all of the performance for so long that people that were performance minded weren't going after new cars at that time. They were always reaching back to the 60s, and those cars they dominated for, 20 or 30 years before these new cars started to come along and they started to really get super fast, and start making a lot of power, like they are today. So it does feel like, we had a good run, and it feels like we're becoming archaic. We're becoming the Model A's and the Model T's or whatever of, what those cars are to us guys that love the 60s and 70s cars, we're, I guess, in a way sort of becoming. But hey, even though, like Mike pointed out a few times, how fast these new Hellcats are and stuff, they're still a pretty dominant force, and we're putting up a good fight. I think the old school cars are still putting up a good fight, and still relevant on the drag strip, and still relevant on the streets. So we'll see for how long we can last.
Yeah,
Well,
they're fast. There's no doubt about that. But I'll tell you this right now, and then Blake, you can go ahead. You will never ever, mark my words, you will never ever see the modern Mopars in the same position as we see the old ones. You're never going to find a barn find Hellcat. I just don't see that happening. These cars are so filled with electronics that as soon as they start to shit the bed, they're going to be stacking those Hellcats and Challengers and the V6 ones. They're going to be stacking them at the wrecking yards because nobody's going to want to fix all the electronical BS that's inside them once it starts getting 200,000 miles. Somebody out there has to have a newer Mopar with 300,000 miles. If not, then we already know where everything's headed, to the wrecking yard. Because if you can't keep one of those things running for 300,000 miles, it's a goner. I can't imagine having to deal with all those electronics and shit.
I don't know. DIY Hemi might be supplying like full, bumper to bumper harnesses by then. So.
Okay, Johnny.
It's just a possibility. I know a guy.
You know a guy, yeah. No, we enjoy that. I think we spend a lot of time comparing the old and the new, but what I like about combining the old and the new is that you kind of get the best of both worlds. Just like you said, you pull up at a red light and you're in a duster. You're in a duster and it's just chopping away. And there's a brand new SRT Challenger right there next to you. It's 6'4", maybe not a Hellcat or anything like that. But it's a high likelihood that the new Challenger is going to walk away. But when you're going down the block, what's going to snap the necks? What's going to turn the heads? Probably going to be that old A-body,
Yeah.
So to your point, we're looking at all this electronics and the automation, and it's great. It's every bit as reliable as the old school. But what the era that we're kind of getting into is we have to be very crafty and creative. We kind of live in a softer world than back then.
Yeah.
So you got to have the best of both worlds. And what I mean by that is, as you're, to your point earlier, talking about, kids just, plugging an OBD port and, well, it can't tell me what's wrong. So I can't fix it, And then you have some of the older generations has been like, well, I just want to listen to it. I want to hear it and smell it. And, if it's beyond that, I don't want to look at computers and that's newfangled, whatever, I look at it from, I think us on this podcast right now, we're kind of in that optimal era right now where we understand the old school. We can walk behind the car and be like, man, that thing is running rich as hell. Like my eyes are watering. Like, you could listen to it. You could hear what's going on. You're like, that's not right. It's detonating. It's detonating right now. I could look at it and I could tell it's detonating. Like, who's your tuner? Like, what did you do? Like, that's not where you want to be running. If you have that mindset, it makes you so much more of a capable modern tuner. So you can make adjustments and you can see, well, this is what's going on. Like, you don't have to sit there and wait for feedback. And to be honest, the computer's not always going to tell you the answer. It's going to say, hey, circuit high open. Well, that doesn't tell you what's wrong. You have to understand how things work mechanically. Just like you said, squeeze, suck, bang, blow, right? The old internal combustion engine. You have to know.
I like it when you talk dirty, Blake.
Hey man, get your mind out the gutter, or keep it there. It'll be fine, But you have to know. You have to have that mindset of how things work and the flexibility to kind of work both ends of the spectrum. And we're talking about long-term born finds. It kills me. It eats me up when someone just drops down a big wad of cash. Let me go buy that demon and let me go stick it in a corner somewhere, because electronics do deteriorate. I mean, it's just a fact of like, it's going to happen. The insulation degrades over time. It's just going to happen. Is it going to be easier in the future to get an old 30-year-old Demon on the road? Hell no. Like the old stuff from the 60s and the 70s, it's gonna live forever, but it's limited, unfortunately. The technology has brought power and performance to what it is today. So it's the trade-off, right? You can go 100% old school and it'll probably last forever, right? It's the old chiseling stone. It's not going to wear away, it's not going to wilt away. But when you're talking about fuel atomization, you're talking about ignition, you're talking about all these, the most optimal power out of every single molecule of fuel, new school. It's the technology, the science is there. Unfortunately, it's not a lifetime science, So you make that decision when you make that swap. And from like the arena that I'm in, really it's all about, hey, I want to get in and crank this car up. And I know I have X amount of power on tap. I know I can go wherever I want in comfort. And I know I still have the looks of the old school. It's all right here. So it's like the best of everything. I get the fuel mileage, I get the power, I get the reliability, I get the overall aesthetics of a cool ass old school Mopar, right? And it's a balance game. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're right, Chris. 30 years, it's going to be hard as hell to start that Demon that's been sitting in the barn, Another thing about it is, aside from, say, the Demon, which is almost like kryptonite, it's hard to find, hard to get a hold of, you can go buy a new Mopar and get it off the shelf. So the kind of the respect level is down a little bit compared to the old school, because if it's made it for 50 years, it's survived for 50 years, that's kind of a badge of honor right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love the
That's
new.
like my block in my truck.
Yeah, Blake, you're actually in a great position right now with DIY Hemi, I think, because man, with the crate motors coming out and all these cars, like we've talked about this many times, but it has to be said again, with all these modern cars with Hemis, the Jeeps too, all man. I wish I was in your position, dude. I know what you're doing. You're sitting back like, I'm just going to go ahead and get myself set up here. And when you guys are ready, I'll be here for you. I know what you're doing, dude. I like it, though. I like it. I think Johnny's right. You need to start working on these bumper-to-bumper harnesses. I think there's something there. I think there's something there, dude. You just sit back and get it. I mean, you got plenty of time. Get it developed, and then when people start complaining about it, like, fuck, I found a Challenger, blah blah blah. In 20 years, they'll be like, I found a 2017 Challenger RT, dude. It's really clean, but it's all jacked up with the electronics. And Blake, DIYhemi.com. I'll still be podcasting like DIYhemi.com, guys. Like,
your sponsors will be like
DIYhemi.com. Yeah.
You're good at what you do, Blake.
I appreciate that. It's a passion for all things, I love them all, man. And I want people to really enjoy them. And my biggest pet peeve is drive them. Don't stash them away and collect dust. That's just my biggest pet peeve is, I get it. Like, you don't want to get a scratch on it. I get it. But really, is that what it's made for? Just drive it. Enjoy the shit out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mike wants to know how we feel about LS swaps. I think they're really great in everything except Mopars.
So Fox in the Hen House, I did that for like 8 years. Right? I did LS swaps for like 8 years. I knew the ins and outs of them. I still have all this, like the specialized tools and stuff. I enjoyed them. LSC10s. It was great. I will say this, that the LS crowd, forgive me, they are much more sharing and forgiving than the Mopar crowd. So
yeah.
In the LS world, if they figure out how to do one thing, if they could figure out how to start a LS with a paperclip, there's going to be 55,000 forum posts and blogs and, how-to tutorials and everything from, here to Timbuktu on it. In the Mopar world, if they figure out a trick or how to make something work with kind of these Gen 3s, people keep it to themselves. And they're like, well, I want to be the only one. I want to be the fastest. I want to be the best, And that was one thing that struck me as just odd. It's like, oh, man, do you realize how we could really just decimate the LS world? Like if we just talked about the swaps with one another and kind of shared our secrets. And that's happening now. There's a whole movement now. You get online and there's forums, blogs like, well, 30 people will chime in to help you. It was not like that 5 years ago. When I started DIY Hemi, people were very tight-lipped, very tight-lipped. And you're getting more power. It just from the overall design of the third generation Hemi, you're getting more power than LS. They can really put the power to the road. They can really make good things happen. It was always just a technology and an information limited field, right? So everybody was sharing LS out the wazoo. Nobody was sharing Hemi stuff. The LS stuff just blew by us. It's way out there. I think Holly makes a gazillion products for LS swapping anything under the sun. But notice what's happening right now. Holly almost every week puts out a new Hemi swap product. Almost every week.
Wow.
They are really stepping up the game because they see what we see. They see what's coming.
Yeah.
Now that this whole community is surrounding this new technology, they know, oh man, the wave is coming. Like these people want performance parts. These people want options. You now have Holley aluminum oil pans specifically for swaps, when for years you only had one company that made a swap oil pan. You have accessory drives, intake manifolds, exhaust manifolds, engine mount brackets, all this stuff that was not very available in the past. The fire is coming. It is coming. And Mo Party is like the biggest thing about it, right? Mo Party, in my opinion, was Holley's answer to their very own LS Fest. LS Fest was so successful. They said, well, what can we do for the Chryslers? What can we do for Mopar? And that's why me and old Matt are going to have a little showdown at Mo Party, because I think it's about all things Mopar. But there's a very heavy tilt or tip of the hat towards Gen 3 Hemi swaps there. And his car's got the Gen 3 in it. My car's got the Gen 3 in it. His car's lighter. I think he's going to take me in the quarter mile. My car's just a little bit lower, maybe do a little bit better in the twisties. I don't know. We're going to see what happens, but it's a head-to-head. We got 257 Hemis. We're going to go out there and have a blast and share the love and show how reliable these things are, how easy it is to do the swap. It's there, man. It really is there. So when you're asking about LS, that's my long-winded story. Is I think the gig is up, guys. I mean,
so I have an opinion. I have an opinion. I think the reason LSs are extremely popular, especially like in today, especially like with all the freaking Street Outlaws stuff. Like turbos are, Street Outlaws has basically shown that turbos are the shit. That's the freaking next level. And I think with LSs, it's so easy to put a turbo set on or turbo kit on a LS motor and make gobs of power for virtually no money. I think that's one of the biggest allures to going with an LS. And I haven't seen anything Mopar wise. Like I don't know of any like simple turbo kit that you could slap onto a third gen Hemi and plug and play and make tons of power go out to the drag strip, and you're like boom, you're in the 700-800 maybe higher horsepower level for no money. I think that's going to be the game changer when DIY Hemi comes up with that kit. I think we're going to be looking at third gen Hemis as a serious competition to LS swaps.
I agree.
Funny you mentioned that, Johnny. Is I've actually a couple months ago I started modeling some turbo manifolds. So
I'm like Nostradamus, man.
You are. Carcraft. Geez, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago. Carcraft did a head-to-head. I think it was a 5.3 junkyard 5.3 LS with maybe a 76 millimeter turbo, and then they went ahead and they pulled out a 5.7 Hemi out of a truck with the same exact turbo on it, and like it cranked. I want to say almost 100 horse more than the 5.3.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's there. They can hold it. Like especially the little 5.7s, they can hold that boost.
once they started throwing better components on that thing, if it's the same article I'm thinking, because when I bought that 100 Hemi, of course I was like, what can we do to make this $100 Hemi?
Yeah.
I saw that article, like, I don't know if they did part 1, part 2, part 3, or whatever, but by the end of it, they had over 1,000 horsepower, and they're saying, look, this thing is gonna give up, but it is possible with a budget to have a 4-digit horsepower Hemi. It's just a matter of how long it'll last. But talking about LS engines, I want to get this off my chest really quick because what a lot of people forget, look at the history of 350s. People have been swapping 350s into everything forever. Mopars are behind decades, and we finally got the modern Hemi now, and now we're just trying to. But if you look at how things have gone, technology is on the Hemi side, with modern Mopars, because now we can bridge that gap really quick. Because my wife's uncle has an old school Jag with a 350 in it. He's got an old Cadillac with a 350 in it. Like anything that he can put a 350 in, the guy's put a 350 in. He's crazy with 350s. And so when I think about the modern Hemi stuff, and I'm pissed because I'm a Mopar guy, and I'm like, this LS shit is ridiculous. But I start thinking, I'm like, okay, when did that? I remember when they were swapping L98 350s into S10s. And then the LT1 came, swapping those into Fieros and crazy shit. Oh, you thought I was only a Mopar guy? I know all sorts of shit, guys. I'm just joking. Then the LS1, it seems as soon as the LT1, there was like LT1 and LS1, that little brief period of time, it seems like shit just took off for all of those engines. And then you get the LS is blown up. And now the Hemis have come into the picture. And I think we have a little bit of catching up to do, but I think we're right there. We're right on the cusp. And like you were saying, Blake, with huge aftermarket support, hopefully on the way. If Holly's a big player in that game, I don't know if any of you guys listening or watching know how big Holly is and who owns everything, pretty much. I mean, you name a performance car, and it's all under one umbrella. You know what I mean? It's the Holly umbrella. I didn't realize that until recently, until I started digging a little deeper because I wanted to work with Holly a little bit on some stuff, on some promotional stuff, because I was supposed to go to Mo Party, which didn't work out. But I didn't realize how far and wide they were spread as far as the parts and stuff. So that surprised me. But if they're jumping on board, with a giant company like that has all these offshoots, hopefully that'll all spread out to the Mopar world. And I think we're in for some really good times ahead. Just sit tight. Like I said, Blake is in a great position. He's doing the R&D. That's why I'm friends with Blake, because you got to network with a guy like Blake. You know what I mean?
Blake did it before. Like, that was the biggest source of my frustration. Is I knew back in 2010, 2011, I knew, maybe before then, I wanted to do Gen 3 Hemi swaps. Like, I knew it. And everyone made LS seem so easy. Oh, you just do this, hook up 4 wires, and you're running. And it really is that easy. And there's this whole mysticism. It's like, oh, Hemis are fueled with voodoo and magic, and nobody knows, and you can't crack them. It's impossible. You got to pay $2,000-$3,000 and do all this stuff, and it's not. It's the same, if not easier than an LS. Just somebody had to dig in and figure it out. It's stupid simple to get these things going. And we're there now. So now that secret's out, it's like, it's not voodoo, it's not magic. It's pretty easy to do this swap. It's exciting, because when more people do it, more part availability, pricing, potentially could drop. More people buying, an oil pan. Well, supply and demand, all that stuff. But that manufacturers could produce more, maybe get a better price cut with foundries and manufacturers. It's there. And you know what else is exciting that I absolutely love? Seeing the Hellcat swapped into anything under the sun.
Yes.
C10s, Volkswagen Bugs. I mean, I've seen anything, Hey, look, if you put a Hellcat engine in a Mustang 2, you would make it actually look cool. And that says a lot.
I don't know, man.
Well, you know what? Kind of being the old school guy here, I'll tell you what kind of helps me. I've kind of grappled with this a little bit, because I have a fond affection towards the old school motors. I love old Mopar big blocks. They're just, they're beautiful engines as far as I'm concerned, you know. But I guess what helps me sleep is that, you know, when you look at it, like the engine's kind of how we look at the cars, you know. These engines are no longer like plentiful and consumable like they once were. You can't get a 440 anymore. You know, you can get a Hemi now, but you can't get a 440 or 383 or 340. All those engines, like what we have is all we're going to get, you know, unless somebody makes new ones, which is highly unlikely. So like if you were racing a car, let's say, I mean, a lot of these guys, these old school guys, they might go through in a their lifetime of racing, they might go through 20 blocks and just, you know, break them. And then when they break, they're done. They go into the scrap heap, you know. I mean, from the standpoint of they're still making these third gen Hemis. They're plentiful. There's a steady supply of them. You know, as these cars get mileage and they hit the junkyards and stuff, and the engines are plucked from them, it's sort of like it's okay to consume as many as you want if you can make cheap horsepower out of them. I mean, I'd be pretty inclined if it's cheap and it's easy. And I was racing a car, like put a third gen Hemi on it, and I break it. It's like, oh well. I mean, if I broke my 440, I'd kind of. I mean, I've got extra 440 blocks, but still, I'd still kind of cry about it. You know, it's like
Yeah.
there's another big block that's like bit the dust that'll never hit the roads again. You know, so I
Yeah.
think from that standpoint, it kind of gives me a little comfort. Like, hey, let's keep it a Mopar. You know, put it in a car and it's consumable and not feel so uh, worried about cranking up the horsepower on it in case you break the thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you might do on an old school engine, you know.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You know, they're a little bit more disposable and available.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to say for the record, like I love old school engines. You know, I have nothing against them. I cut my teeth on them. Um, I love the aesthetics of an old school engine. If you
Oh yeah.
look, some of the most popular accessories out there is making a new school engine look like an old school. Like it's a thing. Like it's because does it tip back towards the history and like what the vehicle really stood for, you know? But just like you said, you know, they're not making any more 340s. They're not making any more 440s. You have to find what you can.
Yeah.
And when I remember when I first got this car, you know, I had the Hemi swap everything in my last car, and this car arrived, and I knew it wasn't numbers matching anything. You know, the original powertrain. I had the transmission, but the engine was long gone. And I looked at it and I said, okay, I can try to recreate this car and put it back to its heritage, right? Because I really would like to do that, or I would like to have that option at one day. And I looked, okay, well, how much does a current, just a bare block TA 340 block go for right now? $5
Yeah.
Ouch. Okay, how about a forged crank? Ouch. How about a set of pistons? Ouch. Okay, now I'm $15,000 to $20,000 in recreating a 346 barrel, and it's like, well, I can go and have $3,000 into a Hemi swap, have more power, more reliability, drive it every day, and enjoy the car while I piece together. And I'm going to do that. I mean, I have 340 blocks, but I don't have a TA block, you know? So I have the original 6 barrel manifold. I have the heads. I got the rockers, but I know that's going to somehow snowball into like $15,000 to $20,000 project. I don't have that kind of disposable income. You
Yeah.
know, we talk about getting the youth into the hobby. We want to keep these cars alive and on the road. I don't know many young people. I'm not young, you know, I'm almost 40. You know, I'm closer to 40 than I am 30. I don't know many young people that we want to get into the hobby that can afford to drop 15 to 20 grand on an engine,
Yeah,
right?
and that's
Right.
kind of what's changed. That's a big dynamic that's changed these days. And because, you know, when I was buying these cars dirt cheap in the 90s and wrenching on them and stuff like that, it's like, you know, I didn't have a lot of money, but I could own a Charger easy. I could own 5 of them if I wanted to, you know. They were just so plentiful and they were cheap. And that's gone. You can't, I mean, shit. You know, sorry, Matt, but, you know, A bodies, fuck, A bodies, they were dime a dozen, man. I mean,
What do we do to you?
Why you gotta hate?
Damn, Johnny. Shit.
I'm just saying, man.
Matt's over here all quiet, and you have to throw shots like that. Wow.
I'm just saying, back then,
Man.
who looked at A bodies? Nobody wanted an A body. It was like shit. Pintos and A bodies, they were everywhere. Who wants those? You get a B body.
Tell us how you really feel, Johnny.
Don't you even put us in the category of Pintos. How
Right.
dare you?
Mavericks
What?
and Novas. Sorry.
Those are
Just
fighting
kidding.
words.
Just
Johnny,
kidding,
get the hell
Oh,
out.
man.
Matt,
if I go to Mo Party, I'm probably going to get
owner.
my ass kicked.
Say what?
That's
he has his duster.
owner.
Oh yeah, I have a duster. Fucking
Johnny,
car.
I might have to give you a fat lip to quote Fro, but I'll buy you a beer afterwards.
All right, that sounds good. But yeah, I mean, if you're a young guy getting into the hobby, it's like, what do? You can't touch an old school. You can't touch an A body. You can't, the F. What are they? F bodies, the Aspens and stuff. I'm sorry if anybody has one of those and they love their car. They're ugly as far as I'm concerned.
Hey, as far as that goes, there's a guy in the chat. Ben asks if we think a 6.4 or 6.2 would fit in a Chrysler Aspen. I say yes.
Yes, it will.
It absolutely will. And
So
I don't even know that for a fact. But hey, somebody's done it. I would imagine, right?
I think I might have a remedy for you guys.
Huh? What? Go ahead, Brayden.
No, I was just saying some of the guys that are probably like in their 20s, early 30s. I have something that could probably work. So, some of you guys follow my Instagram and all that, and I've been following the truck I've nicknamed the Beast since I've been rebuilding it for a year and 6 months. So I wasn't in a financial position to find a Super B I wanted. So I thought to myself, why not take a Dodge truck? So I found a Dakota RT.
Mm-hmm.
Why not take a Dakota RT and do the best of both worlds, combining off-road mud bog use and muscle car? So I basically took the truck. So it's got a 3.5-inch body lift with the 6.5-inch custom mud slick paint scheme. But we took a 318 and we built the 340 stroker out of it. So the Magnums now are more popular blocks than the old LA or Poly blocks. So mine is a 68, so it's right at the end of the era of a Poly going into the LA. So, but that's something for a guy that's got, a Dakota out there or something. What can I do? Well, you could take your Dakota and make it into a muscle truck or a mixture of a muscle truck versus a off-road mud bog thing, and it really doesn't cost an arm and a leg to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just under anywhere between like $5,600.
Yeah, and I think that's like what's bridging the gap. I mean, I think the trucks are really cool from Mopar, and if you wanted to get into the hobby cheap, like that's probably one of your best options. Mm-hmm. And I think the generations to come, when these, the modern muscle cars, the modern Mopars we're looking at today that are brand new and kind of expensive, those cars are going to get old, they're going to get mileage, and like Chris was saying, they're going to be stacking up in the junkyards and stuff. People are going to be leaving them on the side of their house when the rat ate their wiring harness and it's just sitting there rotting away. That generation, whenever it comes, those are going to be the guys like I was back in the 90s, knocking on the door, buying the car for, I don't think it'll be $100 or anything, but, maybe it'll be a couple of grand, and you could, buy a new harness to get it back up and running again on the dirt cheap, and we'll be reliving this whole cycle, 30 years from now or 40 or 50 years from now. But unfortunately, those guys between, what I was snatching up in the 90s and what is considered pretty badass and new today, those guys in that era, it's like they don't have a whole lot. All the old school stuff is really expensive. All the brand new stuff is really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff in the middle, like from the mid 70s, I would say, to easily the late 90s was kind of, I mean, there wasn't anything spectacularly cool. Trucks aside, I mean, I think trucks are cool, but they were never, you know, you're not getting Chargers or Super Bs or, you know, those kinds of cars. So I don't know.
I think you're right. I think it is a cycle. I mean,
Yeah.
it's people want their youth. You know, it's almost like you're trying to relive your youth and your memories. You know, so the way I'm telling you, write this down. I'm telling you guys right now, those RTs, those that just like you're talking about, Brady, the RT you're talking about, even the D150s, all that stuff right now, that's the affordable one. Give it 15 years. I'm telling you, in 15 years, those were the low budget trucks, the low budget builds that people in their youth, their 20s could afford right now. But when they get in their 40s and 50s, they're going to think back, you know, to their youth and make, man, I want to get another one of those trucks. And so that demand's going to start creeping up, and those values going to start creeping up.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, buy stock in some D150, some Dakotas and stuff like that. In 10 to 15 years, you will be just sitting on, you know, the little kids are going to, you know, be knocking on your doors. The adults are going to be knocking on your doors. They're going to want those trucks because that's what they remember from their youth. They have those emotional connections to that stuff from their youth.
Yeah.
I think it's going to happen.
Plus, they're dying off. I mean, the more that go through junkyards and get completely scrapped out and they're just gone, you know, the handful that survives into the future, those guys are going to be fighting over them, trying to snatch them up, you know, and there's not going to be a lot to take from. But, you know, and I think the tin grills they are just, I think they're at the beginning of starting to go up in value. You know, you're starting to see some that are getting up there in price, and but they're still out there. You can still find some deals, I think. But yeah, you know, it's just like this slowly things get old, and then they go really cheap, and then they go really expensive, and then nobody could buy them, and so you got to go into the next generation.
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel sorry for the guys that are in this in between phase. They can't
Yeah.
grab either one of them. There is no like really cheap tons of cars to draw from, you know.
Mhm.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty bad out there.
Let's look through this chat really quick and kind of knock some of these questions out.
All right.
See what people. Who is Rick Lopez? You better not be serious, dude.
What?
He said, you guys are all jerk offs. F Trump. And then he said, I have a Supra 1994, 30,000 miles. Sell it and get a Mopar. Okay, Paul Walker, get the hell out. So,
Okay.
what do we got here? Lots of LS talk. Thanks, Mike.
That's right.
Hey, you might be onto something though with more kits to swap LSs into Mopars. I don't think there's a kit to swap a LS into an A body, but there's definitely a market for it. I mean, I hate to say that, but there definitely is.
I see Mike's threatening me.
Oh, the Aspen. He wasn't talking about the old Aspen. He was talking like the clone of the Durango from 2007 2009.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The 570 says is a tight fit, which I've seen them in the wrecking yards. They are a tight fit in those things, but I'd imagine you could get if a Hemi's in there. I mean, how much bigger is the 6.4, 6.2 with the supercharger compared to a 5.7? Is it that big of a difference, Blake?
It's the height of the blower itself.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if you look at the block, no. And if you were to put it's a small block, a modern small block. I mean, your Hellcats, your 6.2s have a few little differences. You know, engine mounts maybe a little bit different. Your height of the actual engine itself because of the blower, the volume of the blower, it's a little taller. But I mean, if you put a 5.7 and a 6.1 right next to each other, take the intake manifolds off, put some tape over the port so you can't see the port's shape or size, right? And just spray paint them, bomb them straight out black. So you can't tell color, anything. You can't tell the difference. Physically, if you swap them, it's the same size. It uses the same conversion mounts, bolts up the same way. 6.4, it's kind of the same thing. Cover up the ports on the heads. Take the timing cover, the timing chains a little bit deeper, like the VVT aero engines. So no, it's no physical difference. If you want to do a 5.7, 6.1, 6.4, the 6.2s, Hellcat's a little bit different. Like on the back of the blower, they have the coolant crossover lines on the back of the supercharger for the built-in intercooler. Liquid air that interferes a lot of times on our old schools like A, B, E, F bodies. It'll hit the firewall. So there's a couple companies that make a low profile one, but it'll all just go in the same, more or less.
Yeah. Interesting. I have a couple more questions that we need to follow up on, so don't let me forget, Blake. Scott, my buddy, he's got a badass dart. He drag races. He says, I'm curious how hard it would be to Hemi swap a 70s or 80s van. It's funny you should say that, Scott. Some stuff is in the works, okay? Just sit back and watch the show. Mike Coffee says bagged and bodied. That would be interesting, Mike. Trust me, the thought has crossed my mind. But I haven't decided yet. I really like the old school shit, dude. I like the flared fenders. I like the fat tires. I like the 15x10s and the fatties in the back. I like that. The side pipes. There's a lot that I've been mulling over. And I think maybe eventually, but I got to go old school. I got to go, I got vanning in my blood, dude. I got to go hippie for a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah, lots of LS Mopar talk, which is bullshit. Okay, Mike? That's bullshit.
I know. That's Mike starting all that shit on there. Look. So I showed you guys a picture of Mike's Duster he just picked up, right? You guys see that thing?
Yeah.
That's what he's threatening me with. He's
it was a run yours.
Yeah. He said big block gonna take down a big block, and yeah, my big block is like a puny big block. I know where Mike will go. Mike will go with a big block, and see the freaking tire on that freaking car? Holy shit. Mine looks like this, and his is like freaking off the screen here.
I'm reading this. I missed this a little bit, it looks like. I wasn't really reading it too much, but he's got another. Of course, Mike Coffey finds another car. And this one's in a one owner car, the most preserved car he's ever found. And it's in a storage garage in Compton. Hey, Mike, you might want to take me, dude, okay? And the 426 Street Wedge in a 4-speed. Icing on the cake. I'm curious to see this car. Any guesses as to what he found, guys? Johnny, do you know?
No, I don't know. His posting there in the comments was the first I heard of it. So it'll be interesting. But I'm guessing it's like one of those aluminum fendered, early B bodies. Like 63, 64 maybe?
That's what I was thinking.
He said a Street Wedge, right?
Yeah, Max Wedge era. Funny story about Compton really quick. When I was driving trucks over the road, I had a load going to Compton, and I was like, oh, shit. Right? Yeah. And I'd never been to Compton, so I didn't know what to expect. And I'm like, my hands are starting to get sweaty because I'm in this truck with $1 million load. Who knows? I could get jacked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get off the freeway, and I'm looking to one side, and it's like, I don't know, the Ice Cube, Chris Tucker movie Friday. It's like Friday over on this side over here. And then I look to the other side, and it's like industrial area. And I look at the GPS, it's like left. And I was like, thank God. Go left. That was a fun day. Traffic, I don't know how you guys deal with California, dude. It took me 6 hours to go from Los Angeles to Fontana. I about put a bullet in my head, Johnny. I don't know how how close are you to LA?
It's probably about 2 hours or so, 2-hour drive.
Okay.
I mean, I'm far enough away from it, but I hate LA. I hate driving through there. Traffic is just insane.
Yeah.
But even where I live, it used to be rural about 20 years ago, but shit, everybody's leaving the big cities and coming out here, so now it's packed. So we have, I wouldn't say it's as bad as LA, but we've got some pretty bad traffic ourselves.
So you're down in Riverside?
Yeah, Riverside County. I I live in Wildemar, which is right next, excuse me, to Lake Elsinore. Most people, if you've been around this area, Temecula is the biggest, or I shouldn't say the biggest, but the most recognizable city in the area, my area. So we're about 15 minutes north of Temecula.
Okay. I was down there 2 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, really?
January 2 years ago. A really close friend of mine he moved there, and he was married, and we went fly down and stayed there for a week just to go to the wedding and tour the area. And I really liked it. It's a nice area.
Yeah, it's pretty nice out here. I like it too. Weather's pretty awesome. Can't complain about the weather. Taxes suck. Gas is expensive, but other than that, it's a great place to live.
Scott says Hemi swap a Ram 50. That has come to mind. I actually recently I saw a Ram 50 locally to me. This thing, I mean, it had me aroused, fellas. This guy has a Ram 50, right? 440 swapped. The thing was a death trap. I'm not shitting you. It took everything I had not to go grab 2,000 and be like, well, today's a good day to die, fellas. That thing, the tires on that, it was everything you could have wanted in a shitbox Ram 50. Big block. It was ridiculous. And I was looking at it, and he had like, I think he had Kirky seats in it. So the aluminum race seats. And I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the harnesses that he had in it. And I'm looking at everything else around that thing. And I'm like, this thing is going to fall apart. I was like, I think the guy got it running. And I think he stabbed it once and felt the whole thing go, "Argh!" And I think he was like, okay, I'm selling this fucking thing. God, I saw it and I was like, $2,000. I'll give you $500 for it, dude. It looked like a death trap. But yeah, that would be cool.
Hey, Chris, do you have the ability to show pictures?
Yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, you could do screen share if you look at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, well, all right. I'm gonna. Mike sent me the pictures of that car.
So you guys can see that you can share screens too? I didn't know that. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, Johnny, show whatever you want as long as it's not porno or anything.
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna send them to you, and then you can post it. I don't want to take no chances.
All right, everybody, focus on Chris to see what his eyes do.
You guys don't want to see my search history, all right? LS swapping Mopars, get your minds out of the gutter.
Right.
All right, what you got, Johnny? Where are you sending it?
It's gonna take me a few minutes because I gotta save it from the text, and then I gotta I'll send it to our group thing on Messenger.
All right, sounds good. What else we got here? I think that's pretty much it. Scott said we're doing a good job. Thanks, Scott. Get your camera and
Scott.
Get your camera and a mic and jump on the show. This is an open forum. If anybody wants to jump on. We'll talk Mopars.
Circle back around a little bit. Blake was talking about having to spend like $3,000 to get a Hemi and whatnot. There's deals out there. Like I found a pair of Hemis for $500 the other day, and
wow.
I mean they were shot. They need to be rebuilt, but still $500 for a pair of Hemis. And then there's one for $120. I mean,
I got one for $100.
Yeah,
there you go.
I mean, 3,000. I was really meaning like the swap, like. Pieces, like that's kind of what I was referring to, all the adapter parts. But you're right, you could find some killer deals out there.
I mean, mine was $600 and it had already been to the machine shop.
That's awesome.
Wow.
We pulled for the low buck Hemi truck, our project that we're on our YouTube channel, the DIY Hemi YouTube channel. We picked up the D150, it's 88 D150 for $600, and then we picked up for $400 a running 5.7 Jeep Commander, and I mean you can do it for cheap. So we're literally trying to do this truck is just most bare bones, right? Let's get it up and going and see how low cost we could actually do this thing. And we've kicked around the idea before. I mean, we first started the project before we even had the donor vehicle. We were kind of looking for pull-out engines. We had put our budget like, all right, we can spend no more than $5,000 on this truck, like buying the truck, every little bell, whistle, you name it, like no more than $5,000 on this truck. We're going to make a little hot rod for $5,000. And when the deal fell in our lap with this Commander, it's kind of about knowing what to look for, you know. We responded to a YouTube ad. Guy had not YouTube, marketplace ad. Guy had an ad on there. He said 2006 5.7 Commander. He didn't even have Hemi in that. It just said 5.7 Commander, blown head gaskets, $500. And I was like, okay, that's really close. It was like 3 miles from my house. And long story short, he brought it to a mechanic. The mechanic said, "Oh, it's got blown head gaskets because it's leaking coolant on the ground." Literally, that's what he said. And the guy goes, "It was funny because it runs fine." I'm like, wait, let me get this straight. And this is, Bray, this is going back to old school, right? Just knowing how cars work, right? It's like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, like none whatsoever. So we get it home. He lost the title work to it, and we only wanted the engine. So we're like, okay, look, it's gonna cost you $150 to get a new title for it. We don't care about the title. How about we just drop it to $400? We call it a day. Get it home, throw a battery in it. It cranks right up, runs beautifully. It had a leaking water pump. Right. So
shit.
Score.
Right. So we're looking at this Jeep, and it's got like all the magical swap components. It's got the rear mount oil pan, rear sump oil pan. It's got the tight fitting Jeep header manifolds. It's got all the right accessories, the right alternator, everything. And our budget, we're like, we could probably do this for sub 3,800 now. Like the truck, the powertrain, the swap components, everything.
Wow.
So you can really build a really cool budget truck, just like Matt was saying. I mean, those deals are out there. You just got to know what to look for. Yeah. Maybe having a little bit more experience helps you get those better deals.
Can you guys see this?
A little bit. I think what intimidates a lot of guys, though, is like the drive to have to get these parts sometimes, or the deals. Like my engine was 2 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
We had to go get it. I mean, don't be scared to go for a drive. You'll meet some cool folks on the way.
That's true.
Yeah.
You'll find some cool stuff too, right, Matt? Like you'll get on these little back roads and you'll see a car that you've never even seen, in your life, or something that would easily get bypassed if you were on an interstate. You're in this little back road you've never driven before. That's good car hunting.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah, that you might find another Mopar sitting in the field somewhere or something.
So, funny story. Fro and I almost bought a car together, and we regret not buying it. It was a 60s era 4-door Monaco that we found sitting on the side of the road in backwoods, Missouri, with a carbon fiber wrap on the hood and everything. We almost bought it together, and both of our wives got very upset.
What is this?
Fury or something? What is that, a Fury? It's a Fury. Or, I can't see.
Looks like
it's too grain. It's grainy. Mike, is Mike in the chat? I can't see anything right now, so I don't know if anybody's chatting about it. Ask Mike what it is. It looks like a... I could be right. It could be a Polara too. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. It looks like a...
Is it a 2?
It's throwing me off a little bit. I got to be honest. Here's a clearer picture. It'll tell us what it is right here. I just can't see it. It's grainy. It looks like a Fury emblem to me.
Yeah, I think the trim that you see on between the tail lights, I think the Fury's got that. The Savoys were strip models. They didn't get any trim.
I couldn't come up with that, the Plymouth Savoy, but
yeah, the Savoys are sweet. I love the Savoys. But yeah, that one's got a lot of chrome on it, so that's probably a Fury.
I think you're right, but
Mike just commented
that it's a Fury 2s, though. They didn't have that one. Has the metal chrome split down the middle of the back. The Fury 2s don't have the chrome split down the back. That one does.
On the deck lid.
Yes.
Okay.
Look at the size of these tires, guys.
I know, isn't that insane?
No wonder it's in Compton. It's probably on Dayton wires.
Right.
All right. Cool, man. I can't wait to see that video, Mike. That'll be fun.
All right. So you guys, Mike
Whoa.
is constantly dragging something home. I mean, it's entertaining just if you can friend Mike on Facebook just to see the stuff he drags home. So I can tell you how it goes. All of a sudden, he'll be in a car wash, one of those pressure washers.
Mm-hmm.
So that car will be on his trailer. He'll be car washing. He'll be shooting all the dirt off of it, and then there'll be about 20 comments of people giving him shit about how much is it for sale and how many cars do you have and whatnot. So it's pretty entertaining just to see the comments.
What's up,
cool
Bud?
stuff.
Bud's in the chat. What's up, Bud? We tried to get him on, but he's just joining us via chat this time. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, man. Yeah, Mike. That's it's not a Sport Fury. I missed that. Just a regular Fury, Mike. That's got to be. Is that a 4-speed 426 street wedge? That is a little rare, isn't it, for those cars? Or is that pretty common? I thought it had to be like something. I didn't realize that you could just get a 426 street wedge in just anything. But I don't know the trim levels of those cars very well. What, Brayden? Go ahead.
Street or max wedge?
It's a street. That was what kind of was throwing me off. I know a little bit about the max wedges, but not enough about the other ones. You lose me. That's how I was trying to get the Savoy. I was that word was on the edge of my tongue. I couldn't figure it out. Yeah, I got to do more stuff on the really old stuff because it's really cool. I really like the max wedge era, and I to be honest, I don't know enough about it to make me an expert. I do know that A990s are badass. I know that they were like the precursor to the super stock darts and stuff like that. Back when they were really starting to, the early 60s when they were really kicking off that drag racing program at Chrysler. Definitely a cool part of the history that needs to be. I need to bring on an expert of that kind of stuff and have him school me.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff with those, like about the K members.
I don't think so. No,
they had like these lightweight K members, and they were I don't know if they were aluminum or they were just thinned out steel, whatever they were, because those cars would freaking wheel up, and they come slamming down. The K members would crack on them. They were like they were not very good. So most of those racers, if they didn't get cracked, they pulled them off and put a later or a stock K member into it, a steel one, so it survived better. But they're so hard to find now. So these guys that restore these cars to all original, if you have a max wedge car and you want it to be all original and you want that K member on that car, good luck finding one. You'll never find one, let alone the aluminum fenders and stuff like that. The ones that got the aluminum part. Shit.
Good luck.
Super rare. Super rare.
You think bumper jacks for Chargers were expensive?
Right? Exactly.
That's funny.
Hey, Mike put his Instagram at bodydropped A100. So if you want to follow Mike, go to the comment section to see his Instagram. Check him out. It looks like Mike says later K moves the engine back a few inches too. Yeah, and I had heard that too. If you put, I think it's the 68 to 70 style K member. Well, even into 71s and 2s, the whole engine moves back farther, which is better for weight transfer. So a lot of neat stuff.
All right, before I forget, Blake, I had a guy on the Mopar Hunter page reach out to me, and he wanted to know, he was talking about swapping a Hemi, a modern Hemi, in an old B-body, and he had some questions about the bell crank assembly and hooking up the throttle. And he was more concerned about the pedal from the new car, but I didn't have enough, I wasn't smart enough technically to tell him that you don't necessarily need the pedal. So can you explain that?
Yeah, it really just depends on what transmission you are using. So if you run an old school 727, 904, 518, something like that, you would want some sort of a kick down assembly, right? A TV assembly. So what you could do in that case is you have the original pedal in your car, the old cable pedal that you push and it, pulls the cable. And they would use a 2003 and 2004. That was the only 2 years that had it. The Dodge Rams had what they call a bell crank assembly. It was this little box that mounted under the fuse box and battery tray on the driver's side. And so it was just a cable, but instead of going to the throttle body, it went to this box, and it was very small. And inside it was a throttle position sensor. Well, what people typically do there is you could drill the camber arm and put a cable, like a low car cable, that goes from that all the way down to the throttle valve on the side of the transmission that would, vary the pressure, the TV valve on the side of the transmission. So as you hit the gas pedal, the original gas pedal in the car, it torques the cam on this little sensor, and then it also pulls the throttle valve on the transmission at the same time, much like a carburetor.
So you're converting mechanical movement into electronic, because the engine is basically electronically adjusting the valve body, right?
Right. So every single Hemi, third generation Hemi, has always had an electronic throttle body. All of them have had it. Okay. 03 and 04 trucks, kind of the first years of the Gen 3 Hemi, because those years, a lot of them still had like the 4.7s with the electric throttle body. The cable throttle body. They did this bell crank assembly. It was a 2-year only deal, right? And it works out really well because it's a great way to pull down the kickdown linkage, the TV valve. It works really well. But let's say you're running either a modern transmission or a manual transmission, 833 4-speed. You don't need that at all. You can just literally unbolt, like my car, I unbolted the original gas pedal, pulled it out, and I made an adapter bracket that would bolt in the original bolt holes on the floor, and then it goes up about 4 inches, and the electric gas pedal bolts onto that. So in my car, I have an electric gas pedal. I don't have a cable-driven gas pedal.
Interesting. Does it look weird in there? I'm just curious.
Not really. I don't think. I'll have to send some pictures. Maybe you can post them up later.
And you sell this adapter that bolts to the firewall, to the stock location?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. But it's coming.
It's coming.
Secrets. Matt, what are you doing about your throttle? I don't know if I've...
I'm running the Holly Terminator X, so it's just going to feed off of the... Unfortunately, I didn't know about Blake when I bought all this. Otherwise, we probably would have been a lot better off budget-wise. But I'm just going to run the Charger throttle position sensor with the pedal. I'm just going to mount it to the firewall and go from there.
Nice.
Hope for the best.
Let's talk. I cannot promote this enough, and that's the modern Hemi swaps. I think they're so cool. So Blake, if for the people out there that are still on the fence and they're building their Mopar and they're like, I know what they're thinking. They're like, gosh, a modern engine in an old car, Mopars are already expensive enough. It'd be way easier for me to go get a 440, throw a big carb on it, some headers and cam, and have some fun. If you were starting over with a project car, it doesn't matter what it is, old Mopar, budget in mind? I mean, anybody can drop 30. I mean, not anybody, but you can go drop 30 grand on a Elephant or whatever. But for the budget-minded guy who's going, okay, I could get the 440, or I could see what I can do with the modern Hemi. What would you suggest to them as far as budget-minded, getting a modern Hemi and an old Mopar? What would you do? What would you suggest?
First thing I would do is kind of look at what you have. So really kind of gauge what you have to start with and what you can reuse, because that's going to directly impact your budget. So if you have an old school Mopar, if you wanted to pick the project, or if you had the project already, if it started off with a small block Mopar, like a small block V8, LA block, stuff like that, you are already way ahead of the game because you have a lot more options. And the reason I say that is because so much is a direct bolt-on to the third generation Hemi. The small block 727, the 904, a small block bell housing, and an 833. Literally, it bolts right up to the third generation Hemi. It's the same bell housing bolt pattern. For the 833, you have to trim. It's like it's a little over, let's say, like 3/4 of an inch, between 5/8, 3/4 of an inch. You have to trim off the input shaft because of the registers a little shallower on the third generation Hemi. But other than that, it bolts right in. If you run a 727 or a 904, there's like a $70 flex plate that you buy instead of running the traditional LA like a 340 or a 318 flex plate. You just buy this flex plate and that's it. It bolts all together. It uses the same transmission mount, same shift linkage, or like the console shifter or column shifter. All that stays the same because it's the original transmission for the car. Drive shaft stays the same. That's all the same. So you saved all this money. Your transmission, all that's the same. So you're doing a budget build. Reuse, the cheapest thing is to reuse the old school transmission, drive shaft, shifting linkage assemblies, all that stuff. Then I would say go after the Eagle 5.7 as budget build. The reason why I say that is you can do like an 03 through 2008, which is the earlier Gen 3 Hemis. They put out about, on average, let's say 340 horsepower, 340, 345 horsepower. But if you step up to the VVT, the Eagle engines, which is 2009 and newer, the 5.7 now puts out 370 horsepower. So 370 horsepower is no slouch. You can pick up one of those engines, I'd say, very easily. Like, without looking hard, you can get one for $1,500. You can find a much better deal than that if you wait longer. Okay, so bolt that up to your transmission, get you a set of, it's like $160 for the engine mounts, and that's it. The engine, transmission, drive shaft, physically everything's bolted up. Now you just need the wiring harness and the coolant. So you can just get like a Jeep Commander or a Jeep Grand Cherokee upper radiator hose and probably run your same small block radiator and just put an electric fan on it. Or you can do like Champion has a really good 3-core. That's what I run. It's a race radio, aluminum radiator. It's like $220 for a 3-core aluminum race radiator, and it's made with the inlet and the outlet on the driver's side. So it just it aligns with the way they were in the modern Hemi cars, like the LX, the Charger, Challenger platform. To me, that's the best thing you could do if you want to budget. Go that route. 370 horses, no slouch, especially in these lighter cars, like say an A body, even the B bodies. You can't go wrong. I mean, you could really be into the whole swap for under $3,000, and that's your fuel system. That's everything you need to get up and running. And I think that's very economical. That's on par with LS. It really is.
Yeah, and you're the perfect person to make that comparison because you were deep in the LS world. That's good stuff. Good stuff. So hopefully people were paying attention to what Blake was saying, because it's definitely good food for thought. Depending on if you're still on the fence, you got your project and you're figuring out what you want to do with it. You know what I mean? Scott,
and it's reversible, Chris. It's reversible.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't cut anything. It bolts right in. It's a bolt in. And if you ever want to go back to all original, you want to go back classic, by all means do it. Just unbolt it and put it back to original.
Yeah, I like that. Scott asked, this is a good question. He's curious if the electric gas pedal is NHRA legal in old school Mopars. I don't know the answer to that. That's definitely technical. I don't know the rule. You'd have to look the rule book or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to venture to say that I don't think it is illegal, because if you look at the drag pack Challengers, you look at the Cobra Jets and the modern Mustangs, and I mean that's well rooted in the NHRA. All of those modern powertrain vehicles, you can go get a body in white Challenger, the drag pack Challenger, and it's whatever you want. It could be a 5.7 or it could be a Hellcat engine in there, whatever it might be, and every single one of them has electronic throttle body.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
think
good
he was. I think he was thinking just in general for old school Mopars, if it could pass tech. I'm not sure. That's a great question.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, that's something. Let's try to
Yeah,
find the
because
answer to that someday.
Lizzie Musey, Pat Musey's daughter, is running that actually in one of her older cars.
Oh, really? Huh. Well, there you go. I guess.
Yes.
No prep isn't NHRA. That I don't know what the kind of tech they do, but they definitely don't follow the NHRA rule book. I think. I may be speaking out of line, but I'm not sure.
No, I had a meeting with Pat Musey 2 days ago actually,
Oh, really? Cool.
and we were talking about his engines and what his daughter's doing and the different rules that they're going towards, especially for the older cars, and that's one of the things that he brought up to me actually.
Oh, wow. Well,
Cool.
there's your answer, Scott. All systems go.
It's awesome.
Mike Coffey, he asks, what's the horsepower limitation of stock Gen 3 internals? I heard they let go around 600 horsepower boosted. I don't know how true that is. I was looking up some stuff to see if I just bolted on a turbo to a modern Hemi, how much I could throw at it. But I heard they, like, what, 5 or 6 pounds, and then you get into dangerous territory of boost if you were to turbocharge it?
No, you can make crazy, ridiculous power. It's kind of like everything out there, you get into the larger bore, the larger displacements. Obviously, the blocks are a little bit thinner because it's a larger bore. With the guys that do boost, the biggest thing on the 6.4 guys is they look for the BGE block, which it actually made its debut in like the power wagons, the trucks with the 6.4. So they actually had a stronger, more rigid block in the pickup trucks than the cars did in the very beginning, the advent of the 6.4, like in 2011, I want to say. And then now, if you look, everything, maybe, don't quote me on this, like 2015, 2016 on, even the cars got the BGE block. So it was a better, more rigid, it was a stouter block that could handle more boost. It was reinforced. Boosting a 5.7 is different than boosting a 6.1 or a 6.4 or a 6.2. 6.2 is actually blown already from the factory, so it's designed for more than that. You look at we got the Demon pushing 1,000 horsepower with the right key and race gas and the right ECM. If they're put together correctly, you're in the triple digits, and that's no questions asked if it's put together. I mean, if you ask me, you could take a 5.7 block because it's got, just set up right. It's just not as large of bore. It's just not as crazy as some of the early 6.4s. If you prep it right, you can put out some really big numbers on that thing. Really big numbers.
Interesting. Yeah. My buddy Chuck from Hemi Pages doing the Build Mopar project. I can't wait for that dart to get going because they're doing a stroker in that thing, a 426 stroker with a Whipple on it, and it's going to be over 1,000 horsepower. So I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what that thing looks like and performs like. Especially that'll be real fun. Where's this noise coming from? Who's making noise? Hold on. Is that me? Do you guys hear that?
Yeah.
What'd you have for lunch, Chris?
Nothing. Nothing. I ate breakfast. I am tripping right now. Oh, man. What other questions we have here? What do we got? Chris Field. Johnny, that's your buddy. They broke a 5.7 with a blower at 500 wheel horsepower. It's been a few years, he says. I mean, if it's not built right, I guess, yeah. I mean, like anything else.
Did he say if it had like stock bottom end, like either rods or even just like ARP bolt upgrades, anything like that?
No, he didn't say anything like that. But I imagine if you take a stock 5.7 and you boost the hell out of it, it might be fun for a little bit. You know what I mean? That might be a fun ride for about 10 seconds.
What's the old saying about the moped? It's fun until your friends catch you. Something like that.
I had a scooter for a little bit. I was riding to work. I had a Honda Ruckus 50, and we have this highway out here that's 55. And this is a true story. I actually traded a Jeep Cherokee for it. I should hang myself for that move, but if without that, I wouldn't have been able to sell that thing and get my dart. That's kind of funny, but I don't think I've ever told this story on the podcast because it's so lame, but it's kind of funny. So I'm on this little 50 Honda Ruckus. I don't know if you've seen Honda Ruckuses, but it's like this huge thing, and people like customize them and stuff. I just wanted something fun to ride. Fun to ride. Got the wrong that Matt's laughing. He's a Harley guy. And a lot of my relatives, my dad rides a motorcycle or has a motorcycle to ride. He really doesn't ride that much. But my uncle and my cousin, they're Harley guys, right? So, of course, I didn't tell them that I had this Ruckus, right? Because I had never been on powered two wheels. So I get on this 55-mile-an-hour highway, and I'm riding to work. It's 3 a.m. because at the time I was delivering beer in a semi. So I started at 3. So I'm on this highway, right? And I'm riding. The thing's pinned at 35. Right, I'm glad nobody's around at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'm pinned. Right, a coyote. This no bullshit. A coyote comes out, runs across the road. The fucking thing was bigger than me on the bike. I was like, whoa! I was like, okay, he could have attacked me. You know what I mean? And then, that thing. God, that thing was slow. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but the guy traded me that Ruckus for this Jeep Cherokee, this 91 Jeep Cherokee that I had. Because for a very brief minute, I wanted to build a wheeler so I could go wheeling. Because a lot of my buddies are into Jeeps, and I just wanted to be cool too. And it didn't work out for me. But I sold the Ruckus and went and got my dart, so it all worked out. But yeah, that coyote, man, I was like, wow. They're a lot bigger than they look when you're in a big truck. You know, they look like cats almost. And then when you're down on the ground, you know, freezing your ass off, and you see this thing run across the road. It's like, was that a wolf? What the hell was that? Yeah, here's the funny thing too, Matt. If you ride, you probably know this. You'll see the bikers, you know, they're riding. They give the V twin sign. They're like, right? I'm riding this fucking scooter, and people are doing that shit to me, and I'm like, I feel stupid doing it back, but at the same time, I'm like, hey, be safe, buddy. It's like, man. Oh, man. Yeah.
I hate to say this, but I didn't wave back if the mopeds waved.
I never did it first. They did it to me, and I was like, all right, if you're going to do it. But I had to fight to get my man card back after having that thing. That was tough. That was real tough. Even my wife, she's like, because I got a nice helmet. I got a nice helmet. Oh man, I can't talk about it anymore. It's too. And I'm not a small guy by any means. I'm 5'8", over 200 pounds. So I'm on this thing. I look like Donkey Kong on that thing. And if I was single, no chicks. It kept dying on me, the piece of shit. Nothing more embarrassing, right? We have roundabouts here for, like, instead of stoplights, sometimes there's just roundabouts. I'm going around this roundabout. Man, the thing dies. I have to push it off the road. People are laughing. I thank God I had a helmet on so nobody could see me. God. Some of the stuff I've done is just dumb. So, yeah.
Shit.
Oh, cool. My wife's in the chat. That's fun. Neat.
Uh-oh.
Hi, sweetie.
We're behaved.
That's funny. Yeah. So.
I saw
Mike,
said,
I wear my heart on my sleeve, Mike, okay?
Chris said that Hemi was a stock bottom end. It broke the ring landing.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Then he said, Mike, I guess Mike asked him something I missed. On the flip side, we built a Hellcat that made 900 to the wheels on stock bottom end. Guess it all depends on which Gen 3.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I think Mike was asking about the Gen 3.
Yeah, I mean, you have obviously better internals and, the high horse application, stuff like that. If it's a truck 5.7 or maybe just like an RT Charger 5.7 from the early days, they were designed for what they were. And it's kind of funny that we talk about this is, in my day job, I work for a German company. And one thing I've really learned is kind of difference in design style. So if you think back to when the Gen 3 came out, Daimler owned Chrysler, Daimler Chrysler, right? So Mercedes-Benz, German. A lot of the parts on the Gen 3 Hemi are German, like Mercedes-Benz parts, right? So the NAG1 transmission, that five, that's German. It came from the Benz. And one thing I've learned for them is like they're very, very intelligent, but they design for exactly the application. Like in America, we're like, oh, we got a transmission. We're going to design for this truck. Okay. Well, what's the horsepower output on this truck? 340. Okay. Let's let the design factor be a couple, safety factor. Let's make it last for about 400 horsepower. Cool. Germany, the way they think about it is, okay, what's the output of this engine? 312 horsepower. Okay, our transmission must be able to withhold 315 horsepower.
Yeah.
Like it's like it is. This is what it is, and this is nothing more. Like anything else is waste. And I think about that a lot. Is some of the early design Hemi is like, okay, it was designed for 340 horsepower, and that's what it's going to hold, and that's what we're going to do. So it doesn't surprise me, without any upgrades of, some bottom end bolts, stuff like that, that it would let go at that rate, because you had a heavy German influence in design in those years. And it's just a different mindset, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I don't see people taking their Mercedes-Benz and throwing like aftermarket horsepower parts at it like Americans do with their cars, but
more power, baby.
Yeah, could be why.
Awesome. I'm trying to think. There's something else I wanted to talk about, but I forget what it was. What's on everybody else's mind? Come on.
Well, I was thinking back to when I first started learning how to ride a motorcycle, touching on your Coyote. I lived out in a kind of a lake wooded area, and it was like 3 a.m. Saw a group of deer off to one side of the road, honked the horn. They went on their way. Here came dipshit cousin Larry bounding out of the tall grass and put his shoulder into my gas tank.
Oh,
and
shit.
Then I punched him at 55 miles an hour because he put his face right into the handlebars. I had a buddy behind me. He didn't even see the deer. All I saw was my bike go sideways, and then we just kept going. We get to my house. I was like, dude, you see that deer I hit? And he's like, nah, you swerved. No. He left a dent in my gas tank, so I had proof. He was there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, yeah, deer are a lot bigger when they're running at you at 55 miles an hour.
Yeah. God, I could think of so many stupid things that happened to me on that stupid... I was coming down this hill and it died on me, so I'm coasting down the thing. And I started trying to brake because this was a pretty steep hill. So I'm braking and I'm like, is that... Because I drive a semi, so sometimes if you smoke the brakes, you can smell the brake. And I'm riding this brake coming down this hill, and I can smell it. And I'm like, if I wipe out on this little piece of shit, I'm going to be so mad. And I had to call my boss because it would not start again. I was livid pissed. So I did the hit it trick. Boom, 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 boom. I hit it, and it started. I was like, thank God. Ride of shame. That thing. But dying in that roundabout, that was the worst. Because it's stupid me. Instead of jumping off of it and like doing the bike move, like, get it out of there. I'm on it, like scooting my feet, like, come on. Oh God. Yeah.
So, I'm laughing at you, Chris. I actually had a moped once.
So did Bud. We're gonna start a club, Nuns of Anarchy. Nuns of Anarchy.
I had a 50cc Honda Elite.
Oh boy.
This thing could not, like, I remembered like explicitly like cowering down behind the handlebars and like trying with all of my might to just kind of get the aerodynamics down. Because believe it or not, the engine was so underpowered it made a difference. If I sat up versus crouching behind the handlebars, it would make a difference of like 30 miles an hour and 40 miles an hour. And like 40 was like topped out. Like this is that's the best you could do, right? And I didn't drive it much, like maybe in the yard. It was just like something I was just goofing off with, right? And I remember we had a hurricane hit, and this was, didn't really happen that frequently. We had a hurricane hit, and the lines for fuel at the gas stations were just, it was 2 to 3 hour wait in line to get fuel for people with their generators and all this stuff. But the motorcycle line was just like, hey, just come in, fill up, and it was just flying. Like someone could pull in on a motorcycle, fill up their tank, and go about their day. They were trying to promote that if you're on a bike using, a more fuel efficient mode of transportation, it was like a shortcut line. So our generator was going pretty low on fuel, and I said, oh man, I've got an idea. So I was like a total Dumb and Dumber move, right? It had like a little bike luggage rack on the back of this thing. I strapped 2 5-gallon cans of fuel on the back of this moped. And I'm just like going past this. It was at least, I would say, maybe a 2-mile line, like waiting to pull into this fuel station. And I just go right past all of them. Pull right up to the pump. I fill up the bike and 10 gallons of fuel, and people were cursing me.
Oh,
you son of a baby. And so at that point, I'm sure I looked really uncool, but I did not care.
I get it, man. I have a couple similar things. So like I said, it was like 35. This thing was topped out. And I had like a sport bike helmet, right? And I'm on I literally was like this. I was like pinned. And I'm like, I'm going to blow this thing up. It's like stressing because I'm so fat. It's like, oh God. Right? So I'm like looking up, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I just want to see what happens when I half a mile an hour. I didn't even get to 36. It was like 35 is here, 36 is here. It was like, and I was like, okay. It's just bad, dude. So bad. And for filling up fuel, I tried to play it cool around my wife because she made it clear that I was a dork for having this thing. And I felt like a dork, but I was too man to admit it. I was like, hey, I'm man enough to ride this thing, okay? I would not fill it up when I knew people were going to be there. I would fill it up at 3 a.m. when no one was around. I'd roll up. All right, that's how much fuel it took. I'm like, I actually filled it up too much one time because with the tank in that thing, and our gas nozzles, you kind of have to pull the thing. That's why when you put it into a car, it actually fills it up, right? So I stick it in there. I'm like, why is this fuel not coming out? What the hell? And I was like, so I had to. So I pull up on the little thing, and it's filling. And I'm like sitting there, like, come on. I'm looking at the price, right? And then I start smelling fuel, and I look down, it's just spilling all over the place. I was like, son of a bitch. Shit. So then I'm taking like the squeegee that they have, and I'm like tossing this shit water on it, and like trying to wipe it down. I was like, fuck it. I just went to work. Yeah, that thing. God. Yeah, from mopeds to Mopars. Yeah, Mike. Correct.
That is correct.
Hey, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to get there, dude. I never really thought about that too much.
You lie to yourself. You're like, okay, and I think we've probably all done it. It's like, man, I need to get this beater car because it's going to save so much on gas so that I can, put all that money into my car, my Mopar, and do this. And you psych yourself out. I'm going to get that little bike. I'm going to get great fuel mileage. I'm going to save all the things, do all the things, and life's going to be great. The sun's going to shine, and everything's going to be wonderful. And you get about a week and a half into it, you're like, this shit sucks. Right? It's like, in theory, the moped was a great idea. 45 miles to the gallon? Yes. No girls? Oh.
I pulled it into the warehouse, and I would park it in the back of my truck. Like in the semi with all the beer around. One time, this is a true story, I'm not bullshitting. So when they load the pallets of beer, there's a space in the trailer, like down the aisle like that. Okay. And some of these stacks of beer, like 7 or 8 feet tall. So one time I've got the thing in the back, and I'm driving, and sometimes, if they're too top heavy, they'll topple over. And I took a corner, or I turned into like a gas station or something. And you can hear it. If you have the window down, you can hear the beer like crashing. And I was like, shit. I drop the lift gate, and I see beer coming out the trailer. And I'm like, oh no. And I lift it up, and there's my little baby just laying over on its side. So I hated it, but at the same time I was like, oh, I dropped my bike. Oh, I'm a dork. God. Thank God. I'm going to delete this thing. I don't want anybody to know this shit. Oh, no. No. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the mistakes I've made. Like dragging my wife and my daughter to go look at a car that I almost got screwed on.
Right?
What a mistake that was. God. And then the funny part about it was we're driving back home. And it was a black car. And I don't know if you guys are like me, but something that really annoys me is when people take their cars through the automatic car wash, especially if it's a nice car. And the car's got swirl marks all over it. And I used to detail cars. Black's always a bitch. So I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, great. I'm going to have to, take care of these swirl marks. I'm going to have to do a paint correction on it. It's been years since I've done a paint correction, and all the paint corrections I've ever done have been minimal and on white vehicles. So I was like, okay. I was like, I'm going to have to do that. And I'm starting to notice all these little scratches. I'm like, okay, that'll buff out. All right, I'm looking at this thing. And then on the hood, there was a nice rock chip that they had filled in really shitty, touching it up. And I was like, okay, that's not going to... I didn't like that. That was one thing that pissed me off. And then there was some chips on the front end, and I was like, okay, common. Every Scat Pack I've looked at had the same thing. But we're on our way home, and my wife starts telling me everything she hated about the thing. And I was like, and you didn't think before we spend tens of thousands of dollars to say, hey, sweetie, maybe look at a couple of these things a little bit more. She said that right before I was about to buy it, she was going to be like, are you sure this is the one? And I was like, you're going to wait that long? Fuck. Because in my head, I want a Scat Pack so bad, and I was getting a good deal. I was getting a good enough deal because this is what I was going to do. I did a nationwide search to see what the cheapest Scat Pack was, and I was going to do a YouTube video. I even told the salesperson about this. I was like, look, I've got a page called the Mopar Hunter, blah, 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 blah. And as I was working the deal, I said, I'll give you free promotion if you guys hook me up. And I'm trying to buy the cheapest used Scat Pack at a dealership in the country. And I did the numbers, and they were right there. I was like, holy shit, this is actually going to be legit. So just to prove my point, I sent her a picture of the insights of my Facebook page. It says like reach 1 point whatever million. And I was like, I'm dead serious. You think I'm a joke when I tell you that I got this guy's got a Facebook page. He's going to promote us. I was like, it reaches a lot of people. So I sent that to him, and it really didn't help me at all. But I just thought it was funny that my wife just started talking shit about the car. And of course, I was sitting there like, yeah, you're right. I was thinking the same thing. I just didn't want to admit it because I had already been down there. I already got the money, and the car's there, and I can fix everything that was wrong with it. So I was like, all right, I can fix it. But you spend that much money, you shouldn't have to fix shit. You should be able to jump in it, drive it, keep it clean, and then maybe have some fun with it. But, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, street cred gone. Mike never had street cred in the first place. I am not a street guy, so no street cred needed to lose. You're talking to a guy who's got a little shelf full of Hot Wheels back here, okay? No street cred. Zero street cred. Oh, that's funny. That's funny, Scott. He said he almost bought a Hellcat, but the stipulation was for it to race the dart, and they said no. That's funny. Scott, how fast is that dart? I'm pretty sure I know, but tell us a little bit about that. The circus barriers, yeah. Funny, Mike. I really did feel like an idiot on that thing. As soon as I rode it for the first time, I was like, that was dumb. What was I doing?
I had a YSR 50. You guys know what those are?
Everything's coming out of the woodwork. Everybody's had a 50.
Wait. Time out. I want to interject here, Johnny. Okay. Is this Talking Mopars, or is this like Midnight Confessionals?
Oh my God. What the hell have we done?
What have we done? Okay. Sorry. Continue.
Hey, my 50 at least looked cool. It was like a miniature street bike, like a sport bike. It had a square headlight on it. It had fairing on it and everything. It looked bitchin', but it was like Mike said, it's like a bear riding a freaking little bicycle or something. It was bad. Yeah, I think it would go about 45 miles an hour or so.
Yeah.
Downhill.
I never had a moped, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Smallest I ever went was a 650.
Okay.
I think Matt's lying. He's got somebody out there knows him and he knows he had a 50, a moped or something, or one of those bicycles with the moped motor on it, and you pedal fast enough and the engine.
Oh yeah, I get it pedaled up. I did mow a yard to get one of those one time, but the guy backed out. I was the most pissed off 12-year-old you'd ever seen.
Matt,
So close.
Matt at 12 years old probably had 50s as keychains.
Yeah.
That's what they call him, big block, for Christ's sakes.
6'3" and a little over 400 pounds.
Yeah, there you go. Not one to be messed with. Not one to be messed with. If he came
Yeah,
over to my house to buy my dart and I wanted 2,000 for it, and he was like, "I'll give you 1,000," I'd be like, "Yeah, here you go. Don't ever come back, please." Scott says that on his current motor, he runs low 12s to mid 12s on a Magnum 360, warmed over. The build he's working on should put him in the low 10s, high 9s on pump gas, naturally aspirated. Very cool.
That is cool. Does he run the infamous, was it the M1 intake manifold a lot of those Magnum guys run?
I don't know, Scott. Answer the question, buddy. What do you got? Tell us a little bit more about that thing.
Yeah. Mike said, damn it, John, you too? Yeah. I was holding out. I was like, should I say anything? Or
Did I say it?
maybe I could just let it slide, not say anything.
He does have the M1.
He does have the M1. Yeah, that's cool.
What other prediction? Blake, what lottery numbers? I know we missed out on the Mega Millions, 1 billion, but give me some lottery numbers, buddy. Brayden, I had to mute you because we're getting excess noise. So if you want to say something, dude, just, raise your hand. I'll be the teacher. You raise your hand. And the next time you come on the show, I expect an apple on my desk, okay? I'll unmute you now. Hold on. Okay, now my very cool.
Oh.
There we go. There it is.
No,
nice.
Number
no,
one
you're probably
podcast.
hearing I'm in the shop right now. I'm not at home.
Oh, okay.
So
a compressor or something?
It's raining and the wind's blowing about 50. And I have a tin roof. So that's probably what you're getting is the access noise of what's going on. So I'm not even at home. I'm down here at the shop. I've been here since like 2:00 yesterday morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
What does your wife say about that? Are you married?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Married, 5 kids. My oldest is 22.
Wow. I need your wife to talk to my wife.
So it's
because I can't. Oh gosh, that's funny. Awesome.
She helps out with my marketing. So
nice. Have you done any work with
I'm
the modern Mopars?
Like, not too many. I mean, cold air intake swaps, doing the bigger throttle bodies, but really. Not really. My demand for my shop literally is in my shop name. So it's pretty much just old school muscle and anything from 602 to 604, crate motors for modified sportsman, dirt track, and mud bog, and muscle cars. So it's a wide, vast variety of things I do. But not really anything in the newer department now.
How long have you been doing it?
For just a little over 30 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Seasoned vet. I like it.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's cool, man.
For a while.
Very cool.
So yeah, I'm literally it's almost 1 a.m. here since yesterday morning.
Oh god. Yeah, man. You're living it. Cool. I gotta look at your social media some more. Do you got a lot of pictures of your builds and stuff on there, Brayden?
I do. I have pretty much the truck. A lot of my clients, though, especially when it comes to dirt track, they don't like me sharing their motors or their specs. So I don't get to share a lot of my customers' builds for mud bogs and that. So I have other stuff I do, like when I do, headliners for people. I did an old Jeep Grand Cherokee's headliner. So just little things, but a lot of when it comes to customers' builds with they don't like me sharing their their personal vehicles, which I have to respect that. So
sure,
I don't get to share a lot of the fun stuff.
That's kind of killer too. It's like, God, I really want to brag about this and show you guys what I can do. You know what I mean? That's tough. I never really thought about that. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are pretty secretive.
Honestly, Yeah, I mean that, especially. I mean, you're talking when you're talking dirt track life. Guys are very secretive when it comes to their setups of how one side's more cambered than the other. With their motors, even though all motors pretty much 602 and 604s, they're all GM blocks. So there's very, very little things that are different with the 602 and 604 blocks, but I really can't talk about that, unfortunately. So, but no, I pretty much just cover the truck. I try to help people out. Like, the average person, if I'm stuck at home, I can't get to an automotive shop. So, what can I do at home? So that's why I've been covering my personal truck a lot with the personal motor that I've been rebuilding, that 318, that's built into a 340 now, the stroker. I just try to help people out. So that's kind of what I've been covering lately.
Yeah, that's always good. Always, I mean, if you're going to use a build, might as well use your own. That's cool. Scott's still talking about his Mopar here. His Dart.
A little easier.
It's got a 750 Holley, aluminum Mopar heads, roller cam, 904 trans. Why is it such a big debate that between 904s or if 904s are even good? I don't understand why people hate on the 904 so much.
They are good.
I mean, that's
right.
That's what I'm running behind my Hemi. So
yeah,
they can be just as strong as a 727. I think that might be like a myth. There are some professional drag racers that run 904s. Okay, the biggest thing that I can see is kind of like the pitfall of the 727 is the mechanical over rev where it grenades and takes out your leg.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
I've seen pictures. Yeah, I didn't know what the hell was happening. I was like, "What is this?" Yeah, I've seen that.
Was it Van Morrison? He was a very popular a singer, a musician. He raced. He loved Mopars, and literally he was at the strip one night and one came apart, and like that's why the dude walks with a limp.
That is insane.
Wow. I had 727s. You just have to know how to. When you have a lot of power, you have to know how to handle them. But I see nothing wrong in a 904. They can be just as strong, and a lot of people put a lot of power to them. It's safer than a 727 in some aspects.
Let's see here. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this. I just Googled 727 blows up.
Oh, yes. Let's do it. Carnage.
I keep forgetting I have this ability. Everything good. Kicking ass. Not so much. Oh, God.
And it's funny. People say, oh, it grenaded. No, like it literally came apart.
Look at that poor guy. He's like, what the fuck? Oh, man.
He's probably looking at his nub of a leg.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm not laughing at the guy. That sucks, dude. Oh, man.
That stinks,
God, that
man.
sucks. Nice car. Yeah, wow. Everything's good. Look, he's got the look of determination on his face, too. That sucks.
Hell yeah. Look at him pulling that tire off the ground.
Yeah.
Freaking hooking.
That's awesome.
You know what he's thinking right there? I'll tell you what he's thinking right there. He's like, thank God this ain't no moped. I'm so cool. I would much rather be him in this right here than ever be on another 50 again. Oh no, man, that's legit, man. Those things explode.
There was one, I think it was a picture that was circling the internet that was an orange E-body where like it had a hole in the door.
I saw that one.
God.
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
The metal was like peeled outward too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, here there's a picture of the aftermath of the thing. Let's take a look at that. Wow. Okay, let's see here. Oh, this thing is blown to pieces.
Chris says, need a bolt-in Sprag.
Look at that thing. Wow.
That was one of my first upgrades, was a bolt-in Sprag, but I think Mancini sells it.
Okay. That's good to know.
They say that, and it helps to use the deeper oil pan and filter from like the 46RH or something, like the truck transmissions that came out a little later. It's a direct swap, the deeper trans pan and the oil filter.
Okay.
It helps kind of prevent some of this.
Wow, that is insane.
And how does the pan prevent that?
Runs cooler. I mean,
Oh, okay.
you want lower temps in the transmission. Heat builds up. I mean, heat is energy.
Yeah.
A-bodies only. Represent. Oh yeah,
There
look
you
at
go.
that. Whoa, yeah, there it is. Oh my
It's
god.
Crazy.
I'm telling you, 720. Look, if you don't have it built right, you better have a set of stones.
That is insane.
That is carnage,
dude.
man.
What a badass
carnage.
car too. That sucks.
Yeah.
My god. I hope that he got it all fixed and left that on the side. Oh, holy Don Garlitz. Wow. That is crazy. This is probably really boring for the people listening. Sorry, guys. We're looking at explosions right now. Yeah, so 727. Good luck. All right. Stop sharing. Okay. And we're back. All right, God, we're gone almost 2.5 hours, fellas. That's a long time.
Oh wow.
That's awesome.
Scott says that's why you use a transmission shield / blanket. Yeah, no
Yep.
kidding.
Put the diaper on it.
The drum will go through a carbon shield. Whoa. A Power Glide Turbo 400. I wonder how many of the... that's pretty popular in the Mopar drag cars too, right? The Power
Yeah.
Glides? The 2
Transmission?
speeds? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's something I don't get. Okay, crossovering LS to Mopar is there's a couple companies out there. I think Silver Sport Transmissions is one of them. They offer a 4-speed automatic kit for Mopar, and it's like, oh, that's interesting, electronic 4-speed, But then when you look at it, it's a GM 4L60E. It's probably the worst transmission GM ever made, and it's like. I remember when I was in that arena when I worked at that LSB shop. I mean, it was the eternal joke how bad the 4L60E was, and people are bolting them to Mopars and putting them in street rides and stuff like that. And maybe Silver Sport has worked some sort of magic, but I remembered even built what they called quote unquote built ones. Oh, level 5, so forth and so on. Can hold 600 horsepower. They didn't last at all. They just came apart. It was just not a good transmission. The GM guys, they ditch those right away, and they go to like the 4L80E, which is like the heavy duty version of it, and the ones that were in like the 3/4 ton trucks, those things. They didn't even mess with the 60E because it was just kind of known internally as the garbage transmission. So it's kind of interesting to see people putting them behind Mopars.
Yeah. Mike is just talking shit over here. Okay, we're gonna keep this guy in line. Mike, you should have just came on the chat, dude. We're having a good time.
Yeah,
here.
man.
You should have just jumped on the show. What are you doing?
Spice it up.
Well, guys, what else we got?
I got a question for you guys.
Go for it. Shoot.
With all the crazy cool stuff that Chrysler has done over the years, Mopar has done over the years, what would you say is the most underdog product they've put out? What I mean by that is, like, in the 80s, they had turbo minivans, like they had like the stuff that would be like, man, really? Come on. But in hindsight, it was pretty cool that they did that, and I'm sure we've all seen the meme circling where it's like, oh, let's put a Hellcat in a minivan. I'm kind of thinking like, I might actually drive that.
Oh, that's what I'm holding out for. Absolutely.
It's like, I think that's something that's like a field that, not many people kind of look at, but there were some really oddball things that were built over the years that are actually kind of cool. Like a turbo caravan. I'm sorry, that's kind of cool.
It's absolutely cool, and I love them. And some of them came with 5 speeds.
Really?
Yeah. I've seen them, heard about them, and there's guys out there that run those things, and they they beat the hell out of them. I've seen 12 I don't know if they've beaten 12 seconds, but 12 seconds on a Turbo 4 in a Caravan. Yeah. Find me a Turbo one with the wood paneling, and I'll rock it just as hard as I rock that Ruckus, that 50.
Nice.
I won't even wear a helmet.
You could put the Ruckus in the back.
Yes, yes, you could, Johnny. Yes, I could put 6 of them in the back.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a really good one, Blake. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That was definitely an underdog and underappreciated. I think a lot of those turbo Mopars from the 80s, and if anybody's listened to this show for a while, they know that that's part of my history too, is those front wheel drive turbo Mopars. I like them. Of course, the muscle cars are way cooler. You know what I mean? But you have to go, God, I can't help but think if Chrysler had just, especially with the Daytona, they already had the K car front wheel drives. Just make it rear wheel drive. They could have really had something with that Daytona, because I love them. I love the way they look, especially as they got newer. They just had great lines, and I could see where they were going with it. And I was like, God, it really looks cool. And it's such a shame. It was such a shame, so much so that Direct Connection even came out with the conversion kit to turn it to rear wheel drive. So I hope, and I've talked to some people, and there's a rumor, but I don't know how true it is, so I won't go into too much detail. But supposedly someone was going to remake the kit. One of the guys who Hemi swapped, Blake, Hemi swapped a Daytona, was talking to a company that does a lot of, we'll just say, like mini tub parts and chassis parts, made of metal. I don't know what I'm talking about. And they were supposedly they were going to put together a kit, and I was going to reach out to them. I haven't had the chance yet because I wanted to see how true it was, because I've got a few Daytonas laying around, and I would love to make one rear wheel drive, because that, I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's like a 90 or 9, I think maybe it might be a 91 Shelby Daytona. It's black and it's got a Hemi in it, and it's awesome. It is awesome, and it looks. Go find the pictures. The thing looks like it was built from the factory. Actually, what am I doing? Let me see if I can find the picture.
Was that first generation of them?
The one that I saw was the second generation. You'll see. Hold on.
Okay. Well, I mean the first generation of when Shelby got involved.
No. So Shelby was involved in. I think he started in, because they had the Chargers, like the '84 Shelby. I think it was '84 that it started. But Shelby had the Charger,
the old turbo 6-cylinder Sebring.
The what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Cylinder Sebring? Is that what you said?
Yeah, the 6-cylinder Sebring that was the very rare that he helped out with.
Huh.
Really? I didn't know that.
It was a little 2-door sport package. It was it was a six-banger turbo that Shelby helped out and built. I can't remember the name of it though for the life of me, but it was a little Sebring.
Interesting.
It looked like an actual, the Sebring he helped build looked just like the old '84 Mustang with the old hatchbacks.
Oh.
I just can't remember the name of it for the life of me.
Huh.
But it was a little 6-banger turbo. It was a Shelby special.
What was
I'm trying to think. I'm really drawing a blank here. Maybe it's because I haven't eaten in 14 hours. Gosh. I'm gonna have to look that up.
What was the Shelby car that they did? It was like the K car era. It was
the CSX, based
the
off of Shadow.
That's it. The CSX.
I have one.
Yeah, one of my good friends, he has one as well.
Nice.
It's like one. They only made like 500 of them or something.
Very, very low numbers. Yeah, they're definitely numbered cars. The funny part about Shelby's is, even after Carroll Shelby stopped working with Chrysler, I'm going to do an episode on this, on the whole Carroll Shelby Chrysler era. Even when he stopped working with Chrysler, they were still using his name on cars that had no components. They used the name Shelby on these Daytonas, but there was nothing Shelby about him. It was really funny how they were like, well, he's gone, but let's still use his name.
Wow.
That was a jerk move, I'll tell you that. But let's see if I can share my screen here again.
While you're doing that, you know what I thought was cool is the old Chrysler Conquests, which were rear-wheel drive cars.
Yeah. And those are awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
The Mitsubishi era.
Yeah, they did the bulged fenders and quarter panels, around the wheel wells and stuff. I think the first year didn't have that, and then they went with I guess you'd call it a wide body, but
Whoops. Sorry,
I mean,
guys.
they were there. It's like, why didn't they just carry that into the Daytonas?
That is slick.
What just happened? Hold on. So this is the Daytona I was talking about. It's just a really well built. I mean, I'd probably choose different wheels myself, but
Yeah.
it looks
well
nice.
put together.
Yeah, it is clean. But look at how this engine looks in this engine bay.
Wow.
Hey,
I'm
amazing
surprised
job.
it fit.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a monster in there, doesn't it? It looks
Yeah.
insane.
It does.
But yeah, just they were great. In my opinion, they were great looking cars.
I agree.
And it is a damn shame that they didn't come from the factory with little, 318s or something. Because at the time, Shelby also worked on the Daytona. Shelby worked on the Dakota, the truck. He had a Dakota truck with a 318, and it was like the first. It was like the next generation of Little Red Express, where they're like, let's build a performance truck, and they built that thing. It would have been cool to just stick a little hopped up 318 in one of these things, even, and gosh, that would have been cool. But yeah, this car, just really well put together. I love it.
So educate me on those Shelby Dakotas. Weren't some of those convertible trucks?
No, there was a Dakota Sport convertible.
They were badass. I had one.
They're badass, definitely. The Snowbar auction that you guys probably have heard me talk about a few times, that guy had multiple of them. I forget how many, like 4 or something like that. Wow. And they all went for hundreds of dollars. They were all beat, but they were still workable. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I really wish if I had more money that day, I definitely would have bought one of those because they went for hundreds of dollars. And
well, that's cool.
They're definitely cool trucks. But God, that just looks so badass. And I've got a few Daytonas laying around.
Who does that? Like, who makes a convertible pickup truck factory? That's just so crazy, but it's cool.
The Chrysler, in the boardroom, they were all sniffing coke, and they were like, "Well, we did the turbo van. Let's." Anyone ever seen a convertible truck?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Chris says to find the red Daytona with the 6.1.
Oh, the red Daytona with the 6.1.
Red Daytona 6.1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My am I cutting out a lot? It feels like looking on the internet is cutting me out.
So here's an interesting tidbit of information. Talking about 6.1 and looking at that picture, it reminded me that actual 6.1 intake manifold, the aluminum intake manifold that you see in that picture there, flows better and is a more of a performer than the 6.4 Scat Pack intake manifold.
No, I've always thought the aluminum one looked cooler myself.
It looks great. It's a great look, but it actually flows better. It's a better performer. I wouldn't say flows better. Because of the runner shape and everything, it actually performs better than the 6.4 intake manifold.
Let's see what happens when I try to play a video. I'm curious. This is YouTube. Rear-wheel drive Hemi V8 swap Dodge Daytona.
Yeah, just real quick, I know Mike he was telling us about this. He came across the guy that was local to us that was that worked for Chrysler, and he's got a bunch of like paperwork or whatever. Anyway, he was saying that they paid Porsche to help with the R&D of their turbo program. Chrysler did.
Oh, wow.
I think I heard that there was some paperwork and stuff found at like an estate sale, right? That's what you're saying?
I think it was something like that. Yeah,
that was
I think
crazy.
he still has all that stuff.
All right, let's see what this thing sounds like. I don't know how crazy this volume is going to be, so I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. Whoa. That looks like a lot of fun.
Jeez.
Can you guys hear that?
No.
I don't have any audio.
Oh, you can't hear it? Okay. I guess I'll save it for myself then, because it sounded really cool. Okay, I don't know what the hell's going on here.
What are you watching, Chris?
I don't know. promoting other people's stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's the one that was really clean. The black one was clean. This red one was the one that was like, because he kept it all stock looking. It's badass. I wish there was more pictures of it.
I mean, even if that's a base 6.1's 425 horsepower.
Wow.
Look at this Ram Charger.
Oh,
Good Lord.
That looks nice.
You know what I want to...
Oh,
yeah, look at the tubs. Wow.
Yeah.
This thing's on air ride. Yeah, look at that. Wow. I think I might have seen this truck before. That thing is... The color... Oh, yeah, yeah. If it's the same one. Is that this? No, it's different. I think.
Isn't your pickup that same era, Blake?
Yes. Yeah. Same era.
Oh, this video right here. This is cool. I've seen this before. Let's watch this really quick. I don't know how this is going to... Oh, wait. You guys can't hear it. I don't know. Hold on. Give me a second, guys. Let me see.
While he pulls it up, Johnny, maybe you can inform me a little bit more on this. The earlier Ram Chargers with the removable top, for some reason, those look less bulky to me, like the back half of the truck. It just seems like the ones with the removable top just looked a little bit better than the ones with the fixed roof.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm not sure why, but yeah, I love the removable top ones. The later ones, like the 80s versions that you can't take the top off. I don't know. I'm not sure why that's the case. You know, I know on the earlier ones, because I've seen guys, they'll have like, I don't know if it's just more notable when they drop them and stuff, but like a lowered Ram Charger, the whole, like the quarter panels of the truck, it's like a unibody to the whole body, you know, whereas a pickup truck's got the split from the bed, obviously. So like a short bed Dodge truck would be longer than a Ram Charger.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that has something to do with it. Maybe they're a little stubbier than the 80s, but I'm not too sure exactly.
Yeah, something different about them. So,
yeah.
So I had a diesel truck revving up outside my shop, and I was like, what the heck is it? It's like 1 o'clock in the morning here. Why is someone revving up outside my shop?
Sounds like it's a race. He's probably watching the podcast right now. He's like, I'm gonna go over there.
Go get your shotgun and go check it out.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn! Get off my lawn! What in tarnation? What in tarnation is going on out here?
Hey! It's Louisiana, not Arkansas.
Okay.
Okay. Man.
Hey, man, I got to pick on you. If I didn't like you, I wouldn't pick on you.
Is that Duster getting a shotgun rack?
No.
Hey, people fight over shotgun racks.
Really?
I am serious. I parted out a couple trucks, and I remember one specifically. It was 70s fresh, man. Been sitting up since then at least, and it had a shotgun rack in the back glass, at the back of the cab, and people blew up my inbox wanting that shotgun rack. People love them. Evidently, you can't get them anymore. I guess I don't know.
No, not really. No, they're a little harder to get nowadays. My grandfather's old F100 had the Coors Light window cling and the red shotgun rack that came with the window cling, and it's still in the truck.
That's awesome.
I didn't know this trick. I'm experimenting with it. I'm still new to this live stream stuff, so keep the conversation going, fellas. I'm just checking some stuff out. You can bring it when I bring stuff up. You can talk about it too. I didn't realize. I see this big button that says "show," and I'm like, "Oh, I wonder what that does." I click on it. It comes on the screen. Oh. Stupid. Yeah. All right, this is gonna change the game now.
Oh yeah, now we could actually talk to people.
All right.
As Mike's talking about those half-door Ram Chargers, we talked about it on one of the podcasts, but the door frame. So you know how a Ram Charger, the top comes off on the earlier ones. They have the door frame. Those ones don't have the door frame. That's actually like welded onto the top. So when you pull the top off, it makes it look like a convertible. You know, just has the windshield up on it. Very cool. And I think they only made them 74. I think that's what.
I learned that from you.
Yeah.
So.
It's crazy. Pretty cool.
Now, having experienced that and knowing about the intricacies of it, I had a K5 once years ago. How heavy is that dadgum top?
I have no idea. I've never had a Ram Charger.
Hundreds of pounds. Don't you have to get back there? You got to get back there and kind of squat it up and like walk
It was
off.
insane. The K5 was like solid fiberglass.
I think they're like 150, 200.
It was heavy.
Really? I thought that.
Wow.
I mean, a canopy on one of the trucks that I had was so heavy, I threw my back out thinking I was a tough guy. I was like, I can get this thing off this thing. So I'm walking it back, and then I realized, what am I going to do when it gets to the edge? You know what I mean? Yeah. I figured it out.
Honey.
I figured it out.
Went back on. I got mine off, and I never put it back on. I was like, F that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was just curious if the Ram Charger was any lighter, you know?
I mean, I doubt it. They're freaking metal. They're steel.
This is a good question.
That is a great question.
Huh. I don't know, Mike. Enlighten us.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Yeah.
That's good trivia there, man.
See, we're learning things. Awesome.
Hey, Chris, go ahead and cue the more you know. No, that's a good question. These are some really good stuff.
Let me do some research here. I gotta find out.
The Rhino. Okay.
The Rhino.
I have heard that. Yeah. Yes, I have heard about that. I didn't remember it, but yeah,
wow.
that would have been a badass name.
Yeah, it would.
Oh.
I actually saw that with the new Hellcats and stuff, people were replacing the Hellcat emblem with rhinos. I didn't know what the connection was there, but they were doing it. I was like, what the hell is this rhino thing doing? But that's cool. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Gosh. I'm muting you again, Brayden. Don't take offense to it. You can flip me off when you're ready to talk. The rhino. Wow. I don't want to go there. Cool. Never mind. Forget it. The Plymouth Prowler. One of those love-hates. I love it, and I hate it all at the same time. I think they're cool. But, God, that's another... Sometimes Chrysler missed the mark by about that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
God, it could have been... They were ahead of their time. If that car came out now with a Hemi, people would lose their shit.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Didn't it have like a 12-inch wide tire in the back?
I don't know if it was 12-inch. I know it was a monster. It was so ahead of its time. Yeah. Especially in the back. Like, they're awesome cars. Like, God, they just missed the mark. They were 20 years too ahead. You know what I mean? The interior sucked. The engine sucked. But, God, the look, if it came out today, like, if that could have easily throw a Hemi in there, update the interior, throw it as a concept, and people would have loved it.
Yeah.
So I'm changed. When they first came out, I remember back in the day, I just looked at it, and I don't know if it was because they were expensive cars, and obviously it was not practical at all.
Right.
And we used to have guys that would come in, they'd buy them, and then they'd buy the matching trailer, and they had their just obviously very well off. And
that's as bad as a 50 if you got a matching trailer for your Prowler. Like, hey, dude, how many scooters do you have in your garage? Oh, man.
So I just remembered, like, that kind of tarnished the image for me because it was just like it was an old rich guy's car when they first came out.
It's the Corvette guy, right?
Yeah. That's, I mean, nail on the head, Johnny. Nail on the head. It was like the Corvette guy. Like, he'd pull up to the car show with his Prowler, with the Prowler trailer, with his Prowler windbreaker jacket, and his Prowler socks, and his Prowler shoes, and his Prowler hat. And he'd get out and he'd walk across the car show, and he's like, guess which one car is mine? It's like, I have no clue. I have no clue which car yours is. But it was just that stigma. But now, in hindsight, many years later, I look back and I was like, man, that is a cool car. That's a pretty cool car.
And you know what? If that car had a Hemi in it, I think it would the Corvette guy wouldn't buy it. It wouldn't be his thing anymore. It would be like a whole different group of guys, like the guys that buy Challengers, Cat Packs, and stuff.
It's just such a letdown. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
If you never knew what the Prowler was, and you're like, that's a really cool car.
Yeah.
I think
What kind of
somebody
engine
did
does it have?
Hellcat swap it.
Oh, somebody, yeah. People have
I
Hemi
think
swapped them.
somebody- Yeah.
People have Hemi swapped them. Yeah. Yeah. They have. Let me see if I can find Hemi swapped.
Scott, I am not a fan of the PT Cruisers. I'm reading the comments over here. I'm not a fan of the PT Cruisers.
My dad has one. I wanted to kill him when I saw it in the driveway. I think I told that story. I told that story on the podcast.
They made turbo ones.
Holy sh! I'm looking. I just typed in Hemi swap. Right. This is what came up. Hemi swap Jeep. Cool. Hemi swapped Miata. What the? That guy's got a death wish. Hemi swapped Dakota. Cool. Hemi swapped Mustang. Okay. I think a Hemi swapped Fox body would be pretty cool. Hemi swapped Prius. I heard about that one. The Hellcat swapped one. Hemi swapped Jeep again. Hemi swapped Crown Vic. Hemi swapped Camaro. Hemi swapped Supra. I don't think I've ever mentioned that my dad has a Camaro. Here's some good stuff. My dad has a red 1988 Camaro IROC Z. Grow a mullet and go for a ride. To be honest, I can't wait to sell that damn thing. I can't wait. I actually did think, Blake, for a second, Blake, got a project for you, buddy. Can we make this IROC really cool? I mean, it's possible, right? How many people have now that my plan is blown, because I've been trying to think, what has nobody Hemi swapped? You know what I mean?
We think about that a lot. So, just trying to learn and grow with YouTube and kind of get a good following. We're like, hey man, what's our next project after the low buck Hemi truck? And just something that would shock and awe and maybe just be different. What hasn't been done before. And we think about it a lot. One of the tops of our list is like a old third gen Camaro or a fourth generation Corvette, like that whole 90s vibe, So we thought it would be super fun to like go Miami Vice, right? So Hemi swap a C4 Corvette, get us some like white leisure suits with like these gaudy like gold medallions hanging from our necks, and just tour around town and just like try to get in as much trouble as we possibly can with this old 90s Corvette.
Yeah,
I can dig it.
I can too. I love Mopars, don't get me wrong. There are some cars outside of the world of Mopar that I'm like, it could be cool with a Hemi in it. And one car that always had me as a kid, the shittiest ones they made, the early 80s Corvettes, the 1980, 1981, 1982 black. When I was a kid, I saw one, I was like, Dad, it's the Batmobile, holy shit. I'm a kid. So in my head, I'm thinking Michael Keaton's in that mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, there he is. I every time I see a black one to this day, I'm like, I still get that. God, the fenders, they're cool. They're cool looking cars for pieces of junk. But I think one would be great with a Hemi. I think that would be real fun. And if you want to Hemi swap a third generation Camaro, I got one.
Yeah. We want something weird. Just
off the
to
wall.
show how versatile the engine is. We want to do something that just it's off the wall.
Here's a challenge. This will be fun.
Challenge. Okay.
Either create any local classifieds, Blake. I want you to go on there with $500 and find a $500 car to Hemi swap.
$500 car.
Yeah. What could you find? Just find for $500. You can get a field of them and go, okay, which one of these would be fun to Hemi swap? The $500 Hemi swap.
I know a perfect good one.
Shoot. What do you got?
Go for it.
1984 Ford LTD.
That would actually be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's the same platform as a Fox Body Mustang, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Am I thinking of the Ford?
The LTD was like the cop car, right?
Yeah, that's the full size. It's a cop car. I was thinking of the Ford Fairmont.
Yeah, they originally had the old Thunderbird engines in them, and then most guys started doing 383 swaps.
I'm getting on Craigslist right now.
Chris, I like the way you think.
Yeah.
DeLorean?
That's it, dude.
What?
F me running. That is a great idea.
If I had that, I would only drive it from time to time.
Oh, get out. That was a good one, Blake. That's funny. You go with a Hemi.
Oh, yeah.
Crown Vic with a Hemi. Yeah, when I searched Hemi swap. There is a Hemi swapped Crown Vic, actually. That's
Okay.
what is the crazy?
Cars.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah.
Live hunting. I like it.
Live hunting. You know what sucks about Craigslist in my area? Nobody uses it anymore. Like,
Really?
it's nothing but like dealership ads and like links to eBay or something. Like, it's like almost no one posts on Craigslist anymore in my area. It's like
Well,
everybody.
they charge now. I'm like, what are you doing charging, Craigslist? You're out of your mind. So, like, when I've posted stuff, and I know other people use this trick when you post cars now, instead of posting it in the car area because they charge you, you post it in the parts area. So, like, if I was going to post my Dart, which I might, that thing's still pissing me off, but that's another story. So, you go in there and someone will be like, Mopar parts plus 69 Dart. You're like, oh, I see your, and then they'll throw the parts in the beginning, and at the end it'll be like, I'm actually selling a Dart. So if you want a Dart, you get all these parts with it. That's pretty crafty the way they do it.
Out that way, Chris. When I first posted my 70 Grand Coupe on there a couple of years ago, or 8, I mean, it wasn't even that long. It was like a year ago. I put it in the parts and accessories, like you said, to avoid the $5 and all that stuff. People were emailing me, this is not a parts and accessories. This is a whole car. You're going to go to internet hell, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, wow, you have way too much time in your hands.
Right.
Like, they were chastising me for posting it in the parts section.
Before they sent you that email, they had to dust off their fingers of the Cheeto dust all over them.
I get it.
Yeah, that's funny. Gosh, Johnny.
Yes.
We'll start with you. Name one crazy car that you would think would be insane with a Hemi swap. Go.
Pantera.
Great idea. Holy shit, that's a great idea.
Great car, great
Wow.
band.
Great idea. Brayden, you're up. What do you think?
Pontiac GTO.
The new one or old one? Newer one, I should say.
Old one.
Okay.
Old one, however, new one would be all right.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That would really put a Hemi in a new one would really piss some LS guys off. That would be great. Big Block, you're up. What do you think?
Man,
71 Duster. Oh,
Johnny.
Man, I would probably do like a, I don't know, an F100 or a C10, just something that normally gets an LS anyway.
Wait,
I think someone Hemi swapped to C10 already. I think.
hold up.
Boy. Here we go. What'd you find, Blake?
You just said it, Matt. You just said it, and this is what popped up on Craigslist. Let me see if I can share. I don't know if I can. Let's see.
Now, I asked the question. I'm trying to figure out what I would swap.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Not yet. Is there should be a box that like gives you an option like show screen?
Yeah, I
If
clicked
you click on it.
Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna share. Wait for it. Okay, it's grayed out. It's grayed out for me for some reason.
Oh,
It won't allow me to share. Maybe I'm not the host.
Send me the link in our chat, and I'll post and I'll show it. Oh wait,
right.
We got something here. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Here you go, Blake. There you are.
Look. $500. It meets Chris's challenge.
Oh,
It's an F1.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Woo. Wow.
That's true. That would be a good one.
Let's see how. It doesn't look too bad.
It is the perfect shit box to Hemi swap.
for what it is, it's pretty good.
You could probably sell it for more than $500 as it is right now. You know what I mean? If it's got some good metal on it, the window's probably $500 alone.
I mean, I don't know much about Fords, but maybe we could fit a Hemi in there.
No, it's
Shit,
got
you could
plenty
put
of
turbos on it. That thing's got a huge engine bay.
Yeah, no kidding. Look at that thing.
Interesting.
I've seen one of those. A guy swapped a 440 into it, and it was like, wow, there's still a lot of space in here.
With a 440?
Yeah.
Jeez. Let me see if I can get a.
Oh, those things are so
there we
wide,
go.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. They're huge. Huge engine bay.
I'd have to Ace Ventura it and like stick my head out the window to see past the broken glass. That is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, there you go.
Interesting. All right.
Okay, I guess I'm up.
I've actually
I
got
want to
a
see
spare
more
glass that might work.
Really? Brayden with all the parts. What do we have here? This son of a bitch.
You got spammed.
I got spammed in the chat. I'm pissed now. Who is this? What the Himanshu Sharma. Oh, I got your number, bro. What in the is this guy thinking? Wow, I was not. Can I get rid of
How
this?
I got the cure
Oh!
from HIV.
You can't see it, but it's delete comment and block user. Hey, shithead. See you later. Wow.
It's all automated.
Yeah. I wonder how much money those scams make. I'm sure it's quite a bit.
Lord.
Got to work on somebody, I guess.
That's too bad. Oh, it's not. What? Hold on a second, guys. I want to see more. I like the old rat rods with like the early Hemis. I want to see more people putting the new Hemis in rat rods, like in old hot rods and stuff. I think that would be really cool. Just because you got a rat rod surrounding a very nice, sophisticated looking engine. I think that would be pretty cool. I think it could be done right. I'm sure somebody's done it now that I think about it. That's not a very original idea.
Yeah, there's a guy there's like a Gen 3 Hemi board. He did one, and it came out really nice. He did a really good job with it. I want to say it was like, it was actually a Chrysler car, like, an old 30s model era car. Did a really nice rat rod setup with it. And I don't know, it blows my mind when I see what some of those rat rods go for. It's like 30 to 50 grand, and it's like,
damn,
oh, wow. That seems expensive to me. I don't know, maybe that's my take on things.
For a rat rod? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's pretty expensive.
Yeah, that's insane.
You could build a nice B-body for that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite vehicle mentioned. I didn't even think about a DeLorean. That would be rad.
Yeah.
God, that would be pretty bitchin', as Johnny would say. I still want to get Johnny a line of T-shirts that just say "bitchin" and all of Johnny's little catchphrases, or one that just says $100 on the front, just a dollar sign or the dollar sign, and then 100, and then on the back it says "bitchin." $100, bitchin'.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna wear that to SEMA, Johnny. You're gonna wear that, and
I'm down.
yeah. We're gonna sell Johnny's T-shirts. It's gonna be fun. Man, guys, we've gone 3 hours.
3 hours. Holy
That's insane. And you know what? That was fun. Had a lot of laughs. It wasn't all Mopar, but it was a majority Mopar, which is what counts. But hey, we're real people too. We got lives.
Right.
Yep.
I just like talking with my buddies. That's all there is to it.
Right.
And you never know what kind of gold you can mine out of these conversations. You know what I mean? You never know.
We're learning some new stuff. I love to see the comments pop up in the window, so it kind of helps include everyone in the conversation. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing this again. And now that I know that, because I'll be honest, every time I've done one of these lives, especially today, because I'm an idiot. But the first time I was telling Johnny, I was like, I'm trying to figure this thing out last minute. And like I had problems with scheduling it and getting it to share on Facebook. So this is the second time that I've screwed it up. But next time I'm going to be promoting the next one probably a week in advance. And it's just hard when you have so many people. The four of us, and we got Brayden on, so that's 5. Trying to coordinate a good weekend or something. But if the more we do, the more we can get more people on, and the more we can figure it out. So I think we should keep doing this. But I think we're going to call it 3 hours worth of podcasting. That's like 3 weeks worth of stuff. So I got to find 3 cliffhangers, right, Johnny?
That's right.
Maybe now I can actually get caught up on my friggin' podcast. Now that I'm not spending so much time doing stuff at work and trying to find a scat pack that. All right. Anyways.
Well, if you make them half-hour episodes, shit, you got.
God, I can't do that to the people, but I know that people like whenever I do a 20-minute episode or a 15-minute episode or anything shorter than 45 minutes, I usually get one or two people that are like, "What happened?" And I'm like, sometimes when I'm doing it, I'm like, "Oh man, that was really quick," and then I cut a lot of stuff out of the podcast too. And I'm like, I don't think they want to hear this BS. So I'm like, better shorter than, there's no such thing as too long or too short. It's just too boring. You know what I mean? So I hope I don't bore too many people, but that's it. That's Direct Connections Live. Number 2. Number 3 will be coming hopefully sooner rather than later. I want to get more people on because we got plenty of room. More people can jump on. So,
Yeah,
but that's partially my problem for not doing right by promoting it. But I'm glad because I'm starting to learn more about this platform and how to make it more interesting. So I got to figure out how to get sound for the videos and all that stuff. But it was fun. Thank you guys once again for joining me. It was a good time.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Thank you, everybody that joined us in the chat and anybody who watches this video in the future. I hope you enjoyed the show. Why don't we do a little round table? Tell us who you are, where people can find your content, what you got going on. Really quick, Johnny Mopar started off, then we'll go Brayden, sorry. It's been 13 hours, buddy. I have not eaten. Brayden, Big Block, and then Blake. Go ahead, Johnny.
All right, I'm Johnny Mopar. I've got a YouTube channel wrenching on some old school Mopars, so come on over, check me out, and follow along. Also, I'd like to send a shout out to another YouTube buddy of mine. His name's Mark Ingram. He goes by Bigfoots and Mopars, and the N, it's not and, it's N. So Bigfoots and Mopars. He's got a 70 Coronet that he's building with a big block, like a 500-inch big block. The thing's making some. It's going to be making some stupid power, so it should be a pretty cool build to follow along with. That's it for me.
Awesome. Brayden, you're up. There's a little bit of delay, so we'll just wait until you go. Go ahead, buddy.
All right, name is Brayden, founder, owner of 66 Salvage Restoration Speed Shop. You can pretty much find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, pretty much all the main major social media sites. I just try to help people out on do-it-yourself projects at home, or you can come see me, visit me in my shop. I have merchandise up for sale, stickers, decals, shirts, the whole works. So that's pretty much me and my shop in a nutshell.
Nice. Thank you, Brayden. Big Block. Matt, you're up.
All right, you can find me and my guys on under Big Blocks Garage on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, just about everywhere. Shows Mad Fro Monroe. We have an hour-long episode weekly. And then right now what we're doing on YouTube is showcasing the body work and restoration and crunch time for Mo Party.
You can do it, man. I believe.
Blake, you're up, buddy.
Blake Anderman with DIY Hemi. You could find us on all the usuals. We're on Facebook, DIY Hemi, Instagram, DIY Hemi. You can go over to our website, DIYhemi.com. Most of our communications really take place through Facebook and YouTube. So if you go check out our videos, a lot of tutorials and self-help with your Hemi swaps, anything that we can help you out. That's really what we want to do. So hashtag Hemi Swap the World is usually most of our postings. If you want to follow the hashtag as well, usually that can get you some pretty good, helpful information. So
awesome. And my name is Chris Albrecht, better known as the Mopar Hunter. And that was Talking Mopars Direct Connections Live number 2. Stay tuned for number 3. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time.